Clarel, Part 3, Saba, Canto 1, In the Mountain. What reveries be in yonder heaven, whither, if ye faith rule it so, the tried and ransomed natures flow? If there peace after strife be given, shall hearts remember yet and know thy vista, Lord of havens dear? May that in such entrancement bind that never starts a wandering tear for whale and willow left behind. Then wherefore chaplet quivering throw a dusk even on the martyr's brow? You crown, do seraphim shed balm at last on all of earnest mind, unworldly yearners, nor the palm awarded Saint Teresa ban to Leopardi Obermann, translated where the anthem sung beyond the thunder in a strain whose harmony unwinds and solves each mystery that life involves. There shall the tree whereon he hung, the olive wood, leaf out again, again leaf out in endless rain. Type of the peace that buds from sinless pain, exhalings, tending toward the skies, by natural law from heart they rise, of one, there by the moundless bed, where stones they roll to feet and head, then mount, and fall behind the guard, and so away, but whitherward? 'Tis the high desert sultry Alp, which suns decay, which lightnings scalp. For now to round the waste enlarge, Christ's tomb rewin by Saba's marge, of grots and ossuary cells, and Bethlehem where remembrance dwells. From Sodom in her pit dismayed, westward they wheel and there invade Judah's main ridge which horrors deaden, where chaos holds the wilds in pawn, as here had happed an Armageddon, betwixt the good and ill affray, but ending in a battle drawn, victory undetermined, nay, for how an indecisive day, when one side camps upon the ground, contested, ere unlocked, in bound. They enter where the ridge is riven, a look one natural look is given, toward Margoth and his henchmen twain, dwindling to ants far off upon the plain. So fade men from each other, Jew. We do forgive thee now thy scoff, now that thou dim recedest off, forever fair hap to thee, Jew. Consolator, whom thou disownest, attend thee in last hour alonest. Rolf gazing could not all repress that utterance and more or less, albeit they left it undeclared, the others in the feeling shared. They turn and enter now the pass, wherein all unredeemed by weeds, trees, moss, the winding cornice leads, for road along the calcined mass of aged mountains slow they urge, sidelong their way betwixt the wall and flanked abyss, they hark the fall of stones hoof loosened down the crags, the crumblings note they of the verge, in rear one strange steed timid lags, on foot an Arab goes before, and coaxes him to steepy shore. Of scooped out gulfs would halt him there, back shrinks the foal with snort and glare. Then downward from the giddy brim they peep, but hardly may they tell if the black gulf affrighted him, or lingering scent he caught in air, from relics in mid-lodgment placed, now first perceived within the dell, two human skeletons enlaced, in grapple as alive they fell, or so disposed in overthrow as to suggest encounter so. A ticklish rim and imminent pass for quarrel and blood feud, alas! The Arab keeps, and where or when, Cain meeting Abel, closes then. That desert's age the gorge may prove, piercing profound the mountain bare, yet hardly churned out in the groove by a perennial wear and tear. Of floods nay dry it shows within, but twice a year the waters flow, nor then in tide but dribbling thin, averres Saba's abbot so, nor less perchance before the day when Joshua met the tribes in fray, What wave here ran through leafy scene, life uplands in Vermont the green, what sylvan folk by mountain base, descrying showers about the crown of woods foreknew the fresher's race, quick to descend in torrent down, and watched for it and hailed in glee, then rode the comb of freshet wild as peaked upon the roller free, with gulls for mates the Maldives married child. Or earlier yet could be a day in time's first youth and pristine May, when here the hunter stood alone, moccasin Nimrod, belted boon, and down the tube of fringed ravine, Sidham descried a lilied scene, but crime and earthquake throes and war, and heaven remands the flower and star, aside they turn and leave that gorge, and slant upon the mountain long, and toward a ledge they toilsome urge, high over Sidham and overhung by loftiest crags and spirals curled, and pearly nothing's buoyant world, eddies of exultation's light, as over lime kilns swim in sight. The fog dispersed, those vapors show, diurnal from the waters won by the athirst demanding sun, recalling text of scripture so. For on the morn which followed rain, a fire when Abraham looked again, the smoke went up from all the plain, their mount of vision voiceless bare. It is that ridge, the desert's own, which by its dead Medusa's stare, petrific over the valley thrown, congeals Arabia into stone, with dull metallic glint, the sea slumbers beneath the silent lee of sulphurous hills, these stretch away toward wilds of Kadesh Barnea, and Zin the waste, in pale regard, intent the Swede turned thitherward. God came from Teman, and his hour, the Holy One from Paran came. They knew him not, he hid his power within the forking of the flame, within the thunder and the roll, imperious in its swift control. The lion's instantaneous lick, not more effaces to the quick than his fierce indignation then. Look, for his wake is here. O men, since science can so much explode, evaporated is this God? Recall the red year 48. He storms in Paris, thence divides. The menace scarce outspeeds the fate. He's over the Rhine, he's at Berlin, at Munich, Dresden fires Vienna. He's over the Alps, the whirlwind rides. In Rome, London's alert, the Tsar, the portent and the fact of war, and terror that into hate subsides. There through his instruments made known, including atheists and his tribes, behold the prophet's marching one, he at whose coming Midian shook, the God, the striding God of Habakkuk. Distempered, nor might passion tire, nor pale reaction from it quell, the craze of grief's intolerant fire, unwearied and unweariable. Canto 2, The Carpenter. From vehemence too mad to stem, fain would they turn and solace them, turn where they may they find a dart, for while recumbent here they view, beneath them spread the seats malign, Nehemiah recurs and last recline, a hermit there, and some renew their wonderment at such a heart, single in life, in death how far apart, that life they question seek a clue, those virtues which his meekness knew, mark these indeed, but wreckful wane of strength o'er the organic man. The hardy hemlock, if subdued, decays to violets in the wood, which put forth from the sodden stem his virtues might they breed like them. Nor less that tale by Rolfe narrated, thrown out some theory to achieve. Erewhile upon Mount Olivet, that sea tale of the master fated, not wholly might it here receive an application such as met the case. It needed something more, or else to penetrate the core. But Clarel made remindful so of bygone things which death can show, enkindled meaning here revealed, that once Nehemiah his lips unsealed, how prompted he could not recall, in story which seemed rambling all, and yet in him not quite amiss, in pointed version it was this: a gentle wight of Jesus' trade, a carpenter for years had made his living in a quiet dell, and toiled and ate and slept alone, esteemed a harmless, witless one. Had I a friend, thought he 'twere well, a friend he made, and through device of jobbing for him without price. But on a day there came a word unblessed, a blow abhorred, thereafter in the mid of night, when from the rafter and the joist the insect ticked, and he, lone sprite, how wakeful lay, what word was voiced? Me love fear only, man, and he willed what seemed too strange to be. The hamlet marveled, and the glade, interring him within his house, he through his monastery made, and grew familiar with the mouse. Down to the beggar who might sing alms, silent alms, unseen he'd fling, and cakes to children, but no more. Abroad he went till spent and gray, feet foremost he was borne away. As when upon a misty shore the watchful seaman marks a light, blurred by the fog, uncertain quite, and thereto instant turns the glass, and studies it, and thinks it over, by compass. Is it the Cape we pass? So Rolfe from Clarel's mention caught, food for an eagerness of thought. It bears, such things may be, shut from the busy world's pell-mell, and man's aggressive energy, in cloistral Palestine to dwell and pace the stone, and Mortmain heard attesting, more his look did tell, than comment of a bitter word. Meantime the ass high over the bed, late scooped by Sidham's boarders there, as stupefied by brute despair, motionless hung the earthward head. Canto 3 of the Many Mansions. The Elysium of the Greek was given by haughty bards, a hero heaven. No victim looked for solace there. The marble gate disowned the plea. Ye heavy laden, come to me, for fortune's isles nor Tempe's dale, nor Erbe, the blessed did bear, a saving balm might not avail. To lull one pang, one lot repair, dreams narrow dreams nor of a kind, showing inventiveness of mind. Beyond our earth, but oh, 'twas rare, and world like this, the world we know, soul know and reason from to dare, to pledge indemnifying good in worlds not known, boldly avow against experience the brood of Christian hopes. So Rolfe and sat clouded, but changing up he gat, whence sprang the vision, they who freeze on earth here under want or wrong. The Sermon on the Mount shall these find verified. Is love so strong, or bounds are hers that Python mars? Your gentler influence, ye stars? If so, how seem they given over to worse than Circe's fooling spell? Enslaved, degraded, tractable, to each mean atheist crafty power, to winning an enthusiastic plea. Here may the gospel but the more operate like a perfidy. So worldlings deem the sweet and glow, much so they deem, or if not so, hereon they act. But what said he, the Jew whose feet the blisters know? To Christ as sore he trailed the tree, toward Golgotha. Ha, is it thou, the King, the God? Well then, be strong. No royal steed with galls is rung. That's for the hack. There he but hurled the scoff of nature and the world. Those monstrous twins, it jarred the nerve of Derwent, but he masked the thrill. For vine he kindled, sitting still. Respected he the Swede's wild will, as did the Swede's vines ruled reserve. Mortmain went on, we've touched a theme from which the club in Iseum swerve, nor Ervangetta would esteem, and yet of such compulsive worth, it dragged God here down to earth. As some account, and truth to say, religion ofttimes one may deem is man's appeal from fellow clay. Tibetan faith implies the extreme, that death emancipates the good, absorbs them into deity, dropping the wicked into bestialhood. With that for text to reverie due, and lifted waist on ashy ground, like Job's pale group without a sound, they sat, but hark what strains ensue. voiced from the crags above their view. Canto 4, the Cypriot. Noble gods at the board, where lord unto lord light pushes the care-killing wine, urbane in their pleasure, superb in their leisure, lacks ease after labor divine. Golden ages eternal, autumnal, supernal, deep mellow their temper, serene, the rose by their gate, shall it yield unto fate. They are gods. They are gods, and their garlands keep green. Ever blandly adore them, but spare to implore them. They rest, they discharge them from time. Yet light believe they would succor reprieve. Nay, retrieve, might but revelers pause in the prime. Who sings, cried Rolf, dare say no Quaker. Fine song o'er funeral situm here, so mindless of the undertaker. In cage above her mistress's bier, the gold canary chirps what cheer. Who comes? I welcome as the drums of marching allies unto men. Beleaguered, comes who hymning comes. What rescuer? What Delian? So Derwent and with quick remove, scaling the rock which hemmed their cove. He thence descried where hither yet a traveller came by cliffs beset, descending and where terrors met, nor Orpheus of heavenly seed, a down-thrilled Hades gorges singing, about him personally flinging, the bloom transmitted from the mead, and listening ghosts such thoughts could breed, as did the vocal stranger here, in Mortmain where relaxed he lay, under that voice from other sphere, and Carol laughing at the clay. Near the minstrel drew, how fair and light he leaned with easeful air, backward in saddle so to frame a counterpoise as down he came. Against the dolorous mountainside, his Phrygian cap in scarlet pride burned like a cardinal flower in glen, and after him in trappings paced, his escort armed three goodly men. Observing now the other train, he halted, young he was and graced, with fortunate aspects such as draws hearts to goodwill by natural laws. No furtive scrutiny he made, but frankly flung salute and said, well met in desert, hear my song? Indeed we did, cried Derwent Boone. And wondered where you got that tune. Rolf added there, oh, brought along from Cyprus, I'm a Cypriot. You see one catches many a note, wafted from only heaven knows where, and pray how name you it? The air? Why, him of Aristippus. Ah, and whither wins your train? Not far. And sidelong in the saddle free, a thigh he lulled. 'Tis thus, you see, my dame beneath Our Lady's star, vowed in her need to Saba's shrine, 3 flagons good for holy wine, vowed and through me performed, even now, I come from Saba, having done, her will accomplishing the vow. But late I made a private one, meant to surprise her with a present, shall value more than juicy pheasant. Good mother mine, yes, here I go, to Jordan in desert there below, to dip this shroud for her. Shroud? Cried Durent, following the hand in startled wonderment unfeigned, which here a little tap bestowed, in designation on a roll, strapped to the pommel, Azrael's scroll. You do not mean you carry there, the same 'tis woven fair. My shroud is saintly linen, and lavender 'tis laid. I have chosen a bed by the marigold, and supplied me a silver spade. The priest gazed at the singer then, turned his perplexed entreating kin upon Jelea. But Rolf explained, I chanced to know last year I gained the Jordan at the Easter tide, and saw the Greeks in numbers there. Men, women, blithe on every side, dipping their winding sheets with care. They bleach and fold and put away, and take home to await the day, a custom of old precedent, and curious too in mode 'tis kept, showing how under Christian sway Greeks still retained their primal bent, nor let grave doctrine intercept that gay Hellene lightheartedness which in the pagan years did twine the funeral urn with fair caress, a vintage holiday divine. He turned him toward the Cypriot, your courier, the foregoing note, which ere we sighted you we heard, You're bold to trill it so, my bird, and why? It is a fluent song, though who they be I cannot say. I trust their lordships think no wrong. I do but trill it for the air. 'Tis anything as down we fare. Enough, Rolf let him have his way. Yes, there he let the matter stay. And so with mutual goodwill shown, they parted for l'envoi anon. They heard his lilting voice impel among the crags this versicle. With a rose in thy mouth, through the world lightly veer. Rose in the mouth makes a rose of the year. Then after interval again, but fainter further in the strain, the pence of the south over the sticks bravely steer, rose in the mouth and a wreath on the bier. Chord deeper now that touch within, listening they at each other look. Some charitable hope they brook, yes, vague belief they fondly win that heaven would brim his happy years, nor time mature him into tears, and vine and heart of reverie saith, like any flute inspired with breath, pervasive and which duly renders unconscious and melodious play, whatever the light musician's tenders, so warblest thou lay after lay, scarce self-derived and shroud before, down goest singing toward death's sea, where lies aloof our pilgrim whore, and pit thou pass, ah, young to be. Canto 5, The High Desert. Where silence and the legend dwell, a cleft in Horeb is, they tell, through which upon one happy day the sun on his heraldic track, due sign having gained in zodiac, a sunbeam darts, which slants away through ancient carven oriel, or a window in the convent there, illuming so with annual flush the somber vaulted chamber spare of Catherine's chapel of the bush. The burning bush, brief visitant, it makes no lasting covenant. It brings but cannot leave the ray to hearts which hear the desert smote. So came, so went the Cypriote. Dare went, deep felt it, and as fain his prior spirits to regain, impatient too of scenes which led to converse such as late was bred, moved to go on, but some declined. So for relief to heart which pined, belecks he sought, by him sat down, in cordial ease upon a stone, apart and heard his stories free, of Abraham's wild infantry. The rest abide to these there comes, as down on Siddom's scene they peer, the contrast of their vernal homes, field orchard and the harvest cheer. At variance in their reverie move the spleen of nature and her love. At variance in their reverie move the spleen of nature and her love, at variance yet entangled too, like wrestlers, here an apt review. They call to mind Abel and Cain, or mused involved with Herman. In deadly lock were those gods gone, or under other names lived on. The theme they started 'twas averred, that in old Gnostic pages blurred, Jehovah was construed to be author of evil, yea, its God, and Christ divine his contrary. A God was held against a God, but Christ revered alone herefrom, if inference availeth aught, for still the topic press they home. The twofold testaments become transmitters of Chaldaic thought. By implication, if no more, those Gnostic heretics prevail, which shook the East from shore to shore, their strife forgotten now and pale. Yet with the sects that old revolt now reappears, if in assault. Less frank, none say Jehovah's evil, none gainsay that he bears the rod. Scarce that, but there's dismission civil, and Tessus is the indulgent God. This change, this dusking change that slips, like the penumbras over the sun, over the faith transmitted down, foreshadows it complete eclipse? Science and faith, can these unite? Or is that priestly instinct right? Right as regards conserving still the church's reign, whose strenuous will made Galileo pale recite the penitential psalms in vest of sackcloth, which today would blight those potent solvents late expressed in laboratories of the West. But in her Protestant repose snores faith toward her mortal close, nay, like a sachem petrified, in cave found in the mountainside, perfect in feature, true in limb, life's full similitude in him, yet all mere stone is faith dead now, a petrifaction, granite so. Then what's in store, what shapeless birth? Reveal the doom reserved for earth. How far may seas retiring go? But to redeem us, shall we say, that faith undying does but range, casting the skin, the creed, in change. Dead always does some creed delay. Dead not interred through hard upon interment's brink at St. Denis, where slept the Capet's sire and son, 8 centuries of lineal clay on steps that led down into vault. The prince inurned last made a halt. The coffin left they there to said till the inheritor was dead. Then not till then 'twas laid away. But if no more the creeds be linked, if the long lines at last extinct, if time both creed and faith betray, vesture invested yet again, what interregnum or what reign ensues, or does a period come, the Sibyl's books lodged in the tomb, shall endless time no more unfold of truth at core? Some things discerned by the far Noahs of India old, earth's first spectators, the clear-eyed, unvitiated, unfalsified, seers at first hand. Shall these be learned, though late even by the new world, say, which now contemns? But what shall stay the fever of advance? London immense still wax for eye, a check but whence? How of the teeming prairie land? There shall the plenitude expand, unthinned, unawed, or does it need only that men should breed and breed, to enrich those forces into play, which in past times could oversway pride at his proudest? Do they come, the locusts, only to the bloom? Prosperity sire them, thus they swept, nor sequence held, consistent tone, imagination wildering on through vacant halls which faith once kept with ushers good. Themselves thus lost, at settled hearts they wonder most. For those they ask who still adhere in homely habits dull delay to dreams dreamed out or passed away, do these our pagans all appear much like each poor and busy one who when the Tartar took Pekin? If credence hearsay old may win, knew not the fact, so vast the town, the multitude, the maze, the din, still laggeth in deferred adieu, the AD Anno Domini, overlapping into era new, even as the Roman AUC, yet ran for time regardless all that Christ was born and after fall of Rome itself. But now our age, so infidel in equipage, while carrying still the Christian name, for all its self-asserted claim. How fares it, tell? Can the age stem its own conclusions? Is it a king awed by his conquests, which enring with menaces his diadem? Bright visions of the times to be, must these recoil ere long be cowed before the march in league avowed of mammon and democracy? In one result whereto we tend, shall science disappoint the hope? Yea, to confound us in the end, new doors to superstition ope. As years and annals grow, and action and reaction vie, and never men attain but know how waves on waves forever die, does all more enigmatic show. So they, and in the vain appeal, persisted yet as ever still, blown back in sleet that blinds the eyes, not less the fervid geysers rise. Clarel, meantime, ungladdened bent, regardful and the more intent, for silence held at whiles his eye lit on the Druze reclined half prone, the long pipe resting on the stone, and wreaths of vapor floating by, the man and pipe in peace as one. How clear the profile, clear and true, and he so tawny, busty view, antique and alabaster brown, might show like that there all aside, how passionless he took for bride the calm, but not the dearth or waste, nor would he fall in waste of words, that waste of all. For vine from that unchristened earth, bits he picked up of porous stone, and crushed in fist, or one by one, through the dull void of desert air, he tossed them into valley down, or pelted his own shadow there, nor sided he with anything. By fits indeed he wakeful looked, but in the main how ill he brooked. That weary length of arguing, like tale interminable told in Hades by some gossip old, to while the never-ending night apart he went, meantime like kite, on Sidon perch which doth enfold, slowly exact the noiseless wing, each wrinkled Arab Bethlehemite, or trooper of the Arab ring, with look of indoors withered sprite, slant peered on them from lateral height, while unperturbed over deserts riven, stretched the clear vault of hollow heaven. Canto 6, Derwent. At night upon the darkling main to ship return with muffled sound, the rowers without comment vain, the messmate overboard not found, so baffled in deep quest but late. These on the mountain, but from chat, with Balak's in campaigning mood, Derwent drew nigh, the sight of him, ruffled the Swede, soaked a whim, which took these words, O well bestowed, hither and help us, man of God, doctor of consolation here. Be warned, though, truth won't docile be to codes of good society, allowing for pain's bitter cheer, or hearing but in part perchance, the comely cleric pilgrim came, with what he might of suiting frame, and air approaching nonchalance. And how to serve you, friends, he said. Ah, that, cried Rolf, for we misled, we peer from brinks of all we know, our eyes are blurred against the haze, canst help us track in snow on snow, the footprint of the Ancient of Days. Scarce without snowshoes, Derwent mild, in gravity, but come, we've wiled the time up then, and let us go, delay and mortmain stay, Roses. What word is thine for sinking heart? What is thy want in such a case? Who sends for thee to act thy part, consoling not in life's last hour, indeed, but when some deprivation sore unnerves and every hope lies flat? That troubled Derwent for the tone break into tremble unbeknown, even to the speaker down he sat, beside them, well if such one nay, but never yet such sent for me, I mean none in that last degree. Assume it, though to him I'd say, the less in hand, the more in store. Dear friend, no formula I'd trace, but honest comfort face to face, and yes, with tonic strong I'd brace. Closing with cheerful Paul and lore of text, rejoice ye evermore. The Swede here of a sudden drooped, a hump drooped on him, one would say. He reached and some burnt gravel scooped, then stared down on the plain way. The priest in fidget moved to part. Abide, said Mortmain with a start. Abide, for more I yet would know. Is God an omnipresent God? Is he in Siddim yonder? No. If anywhere he's disavowed, how think to shun the final schism? Blind elements, flat atheism. Where to the priest far let it be, that ground where Durham's prelate stood, who saw no proof that God was good, but only righteous, woe is me. These controversies oft I've said, that never, never would I be led into their maze of vanity. Behead me, rid me of pride's part, and let me live but by the heart. Hast proved thy heart, first prove it, stay. The Bible tell me, is it true? And thence derivest thy flattering view. But Derwent glanced aside as vexed, inly assured, nor less perplexed. How to impart and grieve too late at being drawn within the strait of vexed discussion, nor quite free from ill conjecture that the Swede, though no dissembler, yet indeed part played on him. Why question me? Why pound the text, modern be, and share the truth's munificence? Look now, one reasons thus immense is tropic India, hence she breeds Brahma tremendous, gods like seeds. The genial clime of Hellas gay begat Apollo, take that way, nor query, Ramanya, true, the Iliad. Mortmain nothing said, but lumped his limbs and sunk his head. Then Rolf to Derwent, but the Jew, since clime and country as you own, so much affect how with the Jew herein. There Derwent sat him down, afresh, well pleased and leisurely, as one in favorite theory, invoked that bondman from his doom. By Nile and subsequent distress, with punishment in wilderness, methinks he brought an added gloom to nature here, her church and state. He founded, would perpetuate, exclusive and withdrawn, but no, advancing years prohibit rest. All turns or alters for the best. Time ran in that expansive light of Greeks about the bordering sea, their happy, genial spirits bright, wit, grace, urbane amenity. Contagious and so hard to ban by bigot law or any plan, these influences stole their way, affecting here and there a Jew. Likewise, the Magi tincture too, derived from the captivity, hence Hillel's fair reforming school. Liberal gloss and leavening rule, how then could other issue be at last but ferment and a change? True, none recanted or dared range to Moses' law, they yet did cling, but some would fain have tempering. In the bare place a bit of green, and lo, an advent, the Essene, gentle and holy, meek, retired, with virgin charity inspired, precursor, nay, a pledge agree, of light to break from Galilee. And aye, he comes, the lilies blow, in hamlet, field, and on the road, to every man in every mode. How did the crowning teacher show his broad and blessed comedy? I do avow he still doth seem pontiff of optimist supreme. The Swede sat stone-like suddenly. Leave thy carmine from thorns the streak, ruddy's enough that tortured cheek. 'Twas Shaftesbury first assumed your tone, trying to cheerfulize Christ's moan. Nay, now plead Derwent, earnest here, and in his eyes the forming tear. But hear me, hear, no more of it, and rose. It was his passion fit. The other changed his pleasant cheer, confronted by that aspect wild, dropped like the flower from Ceres' child. In Enna, seeing the pale brow of Pluto dank from scud below, though by Gethsemane, where first Derwent encountered Mortmain's mind, Christian forbearance well he nursed, allowing for distempered spleen. Now all was altered, quite reversed. 'Twas now as at the burial scene by Siddham's marge, and yet was here a proof that priest had met his confutation. Hardly so, mused Clarel, but he longed to know how it could be that while the rest contented scarce the splenetic Swede, they hardly so provoked the man to biting outburst unrepressed, as did the cleric's gentle fan. But had the student paid more heed to Derwent's look, he might have caught hints of reserves within the thought, nor failed the priest ere all too late his patience here to vindicate. Canto 7, Bell and Cairn. Eloi, lama, sabachthani. And swooning strove no more, nor gone, for every heart, whatever they say, the eclipse that cry of cries brought down, and clamors through the darkness blown, more wide for some it spreads in sway, involves the lily of the Easter day, a chance word of the Swede in place, allusion to the anguished face, recalled Clarel, now the cry, the ghost reproachful litany. Disturbed then, he apart would go, and passed among the crags, and there, like David in Adullam's lair, could it be vine and quivering so? 'Twas vine, he wore that nameless look about the mouth so hard to brook, which in the Cincy portrait shows, lost in each copy, oil or print, lost or else slurred as 'twere a hint, which if received few might sustain a trembling over of small throes, and weak swole in lips which to restrain desire is none nor any rein. Clarel recalled the garden's shade and vine therein with all that made the estrangement in Gethsemane, reserves laid bare, and can it be the dockyard forge's silent mound, played over by small nimble flame, raked open low the anchors found, in white heat's alb, with shrinking frame, grateful that he was unespied, Clarel, quite noiseless, slipped aside, ill hour, thought he, an evil sign, no more need dream of winning vine, or coming at his mystery, O lives which languish in the shade, puzzle and tease us or upbraid, what noteless confidant may be withholds the talisman, the key, or if indeed it run not so, and he's above me where I cling, then how these higher natures know, except in shadow from the wing. Hark, as in benison to all, born on waste air in wasteful clime, what swell and swell of mellowing chime, which every drooping pilgrim rallies, how much unlike that ominous call, pealed in the blast from Roncesvalles, was more than silver in this shell, by distance toned, what festival, what feast of Adam's kind or fay? Hark, no, not yet it dies away, where the sexton of the vaulted seas buries the drowned in weedy grave, while tolls the buoy bell down the breeze, there off the shoals of rainy wave, outside the channel which they crave. The sailors lost in shrouding mist unto that muffled knelling list, the more because for fog removed the floating belfry none may prove. So yet with difference do these attend chimes, chimes, but whence, thou breeze, here derwent convent none is near. Aye, said the Druze, but quicks the ear, and deep hush of the desert wild, to Saba calling, yea, Rolf cried, Saba Marsaba summons us, O hither pilgrims, turn to me, escape the desert perilous, here's a refuge hither unto me. A lateral lodgment one they wheeled, and toward the abandoned ledge they glance, near in the high void waste advance. They saw in turn abrupt revealed an object reared aloof by vine, in whim of silence when debate was held upon the cliff but late, and ended where all words decline, a heap of stones in arid state, the cairn though Clarel meant he, yes, a monument to barrenness. Canto 8, Tents of Kedar. They climb in Indian file, they gain a sheeted blank white lifted plain, a moor of chalk or slimy clay, with gluey track and streaky trail of some small slug or torpid snail. With hooded brows against the sun, man after man they labor on, corrupt and mortally intense. What fumes ere long pollute the sense? But hark the flap and lumbering rise of launching wings, see the gaunt size of the ground shadow thereby thrown, behind a great and sheltering stone, a camel worn out, down had laid, never to rise, 'tis thence the kite ascends, sails off in tired flight. As 'twere Apollyon, angel bad, they watch him as he speeds away, but vine and mere caprice of clay, or else because of pride had birth, slighting high claims which vaunted be, and favoring things of low degree. From heaven he turned him down to earth, eagle to ass. She now ahead went riderless, with even tread and in official manner sooth, for bell and cord she'd known in youth. Through mart and wild bazaar and waste, proceeding camels strung in train, full often had the dwarf thing paced, conductress of the caravan, of creatures tall, what meant Vine's glance, ironic here with impish ran and thievish way, O world's advance, we wise limp after the cavalcade, anon file by a pit-like glade, clean scooped of last lean dregs of soil, attesting in rude terrace stones the ancient husbandman's hard toil, all now a valley of dry bones. In shape a hopper, 'twas a sight, so marked with dead undelight, that Derwent, half unconscious here, stole a quick glance at Mortman's face, to note how it received the cheer. Whereat the moody man with sting returned the imprudent glance apace, Wayward retort all withering, though wordless, Clarel looking on, saw there repeated the wild tone of that discountenancing late, in sequel to prolonged debate upon the mountain, and again, puzzled and earnest, less to know what wrasts the Swede in such a man than how indeed the priest could show. Such strange forbearance ventured now to put a question to him fair. Oh, he answered, all his air recovered from the disarray. The shadow flung by Ebal's hill on Gezerim, it cannot say. Bud passes, aye, and ever still. But don't you see the man is mad? His fits he has, sad, how sad. Besides, but let me tell you now, do you read Greek? Well, long ago, in stage when goslings try the wing, and peacock chicks would softly sing, and roosters small essay to crow, reading Theocritus, divine, envious I grew of all that charm, where sweet and simple to so entwine. But I plucked up and won a balm, thought I'll beat him in his place, if in my verses and what not, if I can't have the pagan grace. Still nor alone in page I blot, but all encounters that may be, I'll make it up with Christian charity. Another brink they win in view, adown and faintly greenish hollow, an oval camp of sable hue, pitch full across the track they follow. 12 tents of shaggy goats wool done, odd tents of Kedar may these be, cried Derwent, named by Solomon in song, black but scarcely comely sea, whom have we here? The brood of Lot, the oval seems his burial plot, said Rolf, and for his brood these men they rove perchance from Moab's den, or Ammon's, Belex here seems well to know them, and no doubt will tell, the Spahi, not at all remiss in airing his Turk prejudice, exclaimed, I sirs, and ill betide, these Moabites and Ammonites ferrying Jordan either side, robbers and starvelings, mangy whites. Sirs, I will vouch one thing they do. Each year they harry Jericho and harvest, yet thereby they gain but meager, rusty spears of grain. What right have such black thieves to live? Much more to think here to receive our toll. Just Allah, say the word, and here he signified with sword the rest, impatient of delay, while yet on height at brink they stay. So bidden by Jalea, who slow descends into the hopper low, riding to parley with the knaves, cried Belek, spur them down that saves. All troubles, sirs, 'twas Ibrahim's way. When in the Lebanon one day, we came upon a pardon me, the priest, but look how leisurely he enters, yes, and straight he goes to meet our friend with scowling brows. The warder in yon outlet see, holding his desert spear transverse, bar-like from Sablehurst to hearse, of tollgate tents foreboding ill, the woman calls there to her brood. But what's to fear? Ah, with good will, they bustle in the warlike mood, save us from those long fishpole glances. Look, menacingly, one advances, but he our Druze he mindeth none, but paces so they soften down. 'Tis Czar, it is that dainty steed, high-bred fine equine lady brave, of stock derived from long ago. 'Tis she they now admiring heed, picking her mincing way so grave, none jostling, grazing scarce a toe. Of all the press, the sulky clan, yes, make way for the mare and man. There's homage, aye, Belek said. They'd like to steal her and retire. Her beauty is their heart's desire. Base jackals with their jades well sped. The Druze, the champion he nears, posted in outlet, keeping ward, who, altering at that aspect, peers and him needs own for natural lord, though claiming kingship of the land. He hesitates to make demand. Salute he yields, the Druze returns, the salutation nor he spurns, to smoke with Ammon, but in way, not derogating, brief delay. They part, the unmolested train, are beckoned and come down amain, the camp they enter and pass through, no conflict here, no weak ado, of words or blows, this policy, Jalea's, bred now a pleasing thought. In Derwent wars might ended be, yes, Japhet, Shem, and Ham be brought to confluence of amity. Were leaders but discreet and wise, like this our chief, the armed man's eyes turned toward him tolerantly there, as twere a prattling child they fare. Further, and when a nook of stone, and there a fountain making moan, the shade invites, though not of trees. They tarry in this chapel of ease, then up and journey on, nor tent they see, not even a lonely one. Canto 9 of Monasteries, the lake ink black mid slopes of snow, the dead house for the frozen bard, and the stone hospice chill they show, monastic in thy pass, Bernard. Apostle of the Alps storm riven, how lone didst build so near the heaven, anchored in seas of nitrous sand, the desert convent of the Copt. No aerolite can more command the sense of dead detachment. Dropped, all solitary from the sky, the herdsmen of Olympus lie. In summer, when the eve is won, viewing white Spermos lower down, the mountain convent and winds bear the chimes that bid the monks to prayer, nor man of war hawk soul and sky over lonely ships sends lonelier cry. The grand chartreuse with crystal peaks, mid pines the wintry paradise of soul which but a savior seeks, the mountains round all slabbed with ice, may well recall the founder true, Saint Bruno, who to heaven has gone and proved his motto that whereto each locked Carthusian yet adheres. Troubled I was, but spake I none. I kept in mind the eternal years, and Vallombrosa in shut in, and Montserrat in isled aloft. With many more the verse might win, solitudes all austere or soft, but Saba, of retreats where heart, longing for more than downy rest, fit place would find from world apart. Saba abides the loneliest, Saba that with an eagle's theft seizeth and dwelleth in the cleft. Aloof the monks their eyrie keep, down from their hanging cells they peep, like samphire gatherers over the bay, faint hearing there the hammering deep. Of surf that smites the ledges gray, but up and down from grot to shrine, along the gorge hard by the brink, file the gowned monks in even line, and never shrink, with litany or dirge they wend, where nature as in travail dwells, and the worn grots and pensive dells, in wail for wail responses send, echoes and plaintive syllables. With mystic silvery breed, divine, Saint Basil's banner of our Lord, in lieu of crucifix adored, by Greeks which images decline, stained with the 5 small wounds in red, down through the darkling gulf is led, by night oft times while tapers glow, small in the depths as stars may show, reflected far in well profound, full 1,500 years have wound, since Cenobite first harbored here, the bones of men deemed martyrs crowned, to fossils turn in mountain near, nor less while now lone scribe may write. Even now in living dead of night, in Saba's lamps the flames aspire, the votaries tend the far transmitted fire. Canto 10, Before the Gate. 'Tis Kedron, that profound ravine, whence Saba soars, and all between Zion and Saba one may stray, sunk from the sun through Kedron's way, by road more menacingly dead than that which wins the convent's base. No ghost to Tartarus is led, through scuttle small that keepeth place. In floor of cellars which impend, cellars or cloisters men ascend, by ladder which the monks let down, and quick withdraw, and thence yet on. Higher and higher, flight by flight, they mount from Erebus to light, and oft look worldwide much in tone of Uriel, warder in the sun, who serious views this earthly scene, since Satan passed his guard and entered in. But not by Kedron these now come, who ride from Siddim, know they roam the roof of mountains, when the tall towers of Saba and huge wall, builded along the steep, and there a postern with a door full spare, yet strong, a clamped and bucklered mass, bolted in waste whose king is fear, sole port of refuge it is here. Strange, and it might repel, alas, fair havens won by such a pass. In London Tower the Traitor's Gate, through which the guilty waters flow, looks not more grim, yet shalt thou know, if once thou enter good estate, beneath these walls what frays have been, what clash and outery sabres crossed, pilgrim and parasite between, and some have here given up the ghost. Before the gate in last despair, nor for the most part lacking fare, signed manual friars, a metered lord, admission shall that arch afford to any. Wary now the train, at eve halt by the gate and knock, no answer, Belloc shouts amain. As well invoke the Pico rock. Bide breathes the Druze and dropping rain, he points a wallet's lowered down from under where a hood projects. High up the tower a cowl of stone, wherefrom alert an eye inspects all applicants and unbeknown. Jalea promptly from his vest a missive draws, which duly placed in budget rises from the ground and vanishes. So without sound, monks fish up to their donjon dark the voucher from their patriarch, even him who dwells in Damascus state. On Zion throne not long they wait. The postern swings dismounting nigh. The horses through the needle's eye, that small and narrow gate they lead, but while low ducks each lofty steed, behold how through the crucial pass slips unabased the humble ass. And so they all with clattering din the stony fortress courtyard win. There see them served in bidden rest, horse ass too treated as a guest. Friars tend as grooms, yet others call and lead them to the freighter hall. Cliff hung by monks the board is spread, they break the monastery bread, moistening the same with Saba's wine, product of painful toil mid stones and terraces, whose Bacchic zones that desert gird alvan vine, to flinty places well inclined, once crushed the flint, even so they fared. So well for them the brethren cared. Refection done for grateful bed, cool mats of dye sedate were spread. The lamps were looked to freshly trimmed, and last at hint from mellow man, who seemed to know how all things ran, and who in place shall soon be hymned, a young monk servant, slender limbed, and of a comely countenance, set out one flask of stature tall, against men's needs medicinal. Travelers subject to mischance, devout then and with aspect bright, invoked Marsaba's blessing, bade good night. He goes, but now in change of tune, shall friar be followed by buffoon. Saba supply a pantaloon, wise largest of true license yield. However the river winding round may win an unexpected bound, the aim and destiny unsealed in the first fount hold unrepealed. Canto 11, The Beaker. Life is not by square and line, wisdom stupid without folly. Sherbet today, tomorrow wine, feather and cap, and the world is jolly. So he, the aforesaid mellow man, thrumming upon the table's span, scarce audible except in air, mirth's modest overture seemed there, nor less the pilgrim's folding wing, weary would now in slumber fall, sleep held for a superfluous thing. By that free heart at home in hall, and who was he so jovial? Purveyor he some needful stores, supplied from Syrian towns and shores, and on his trips, dismissing care, his stores delivered all and told, would rest awhile in Saba's fold. Not broken he with fast and prayer, the leg did well plump out the sock, nor young nor old but did enlock, and reconcilement a bright cheek, and fleecy beard that cheekens show. Arbutus flaked about with snow, running Arbutus in spring's freak, overtaken so. In Mytilene, Sappho, and Phaon's Lesbos green, his home was his lax paradise, an island yet luxurious scene, fruitful in all that can entice. For chum he had a mountain near, a giant man beneath whose lee, lightly he bloomed like pinks that cheer the base of tower where cannon be. That mountain near the battle tans, and are not of no mean degree, a line of war and drew descent through dames heroic from the tent of Pyrrhus and those Epirot clans which routed Rome, and furthermore, in after line and linked he stood to Skanderbeg's Albanian brood, the Arslan famous heretofore, the horsetail pennon dyed in gore, an Islamite he was by creed, in act what fortune's chances breed. Attest the medal, vouch the scar, had bled for Sultan, won for Czar. His psalter bugle was in drum, and he scorched rag his labarum, for time adherent of the Turk. In Saba's hold he sheathed his dirk. waiting arrival of a troop destined for some dragooning swoop on the wild tribes beyond the wave of Jordan, unconstrained though grave, stalwart but agile, nobly tall, complexion a burnt red in all, his carriage charged with courage high and devil dare, a hawk's his eye, while for the garb a snow-white kilt was background to his great sword's hilt. The waistcoat blue with plates and chains, tarnished a bit with grapey stains, oches and silver rose, stout greaves of leather, buskins thonged, a light cloak of broidered stuff Damascus weaves, and scorched one side with powder smoke, a crimson fez, bald as a skull, save for long tasseled prodigal. Last add hereto a blood-red sash with dagger and pistol silvery charms, and there you have this Arnott rash, in zone of war a trophy of arms, while yet the monk stood by serene, he as to kill time his mustache adjusted in his scimitar's sheen, but when they made their mild adieu, response he nodded seemly to. And now the last gown friar gone, his heart of onslaught he toned down, into a solemn sort of grace, each pilgrim looking full in face, as he should say, why now let's be good comrades here tonight. Grave plea for brotherly love and jollity, from such an arsenal of man, a little strange seemed and remote to bring it nearer, spice promote, nor mindless of some aspects wan, Lesbos with fair engaging tone, threw in some moral cinnamon, Sir Pilgrims look 'tis early yet, in evening arbor here forget the heat, the burden of the day. Life has its trials, sorrows, yes, I know. I feel, but blessedness makes up. Ye've grieved the tender clay. Solace should now all that requite. 'Tis duty, sirs, and by the way, not vainly Anselm bade good night. For see and cheery on the board, the flask he set, I and the sword. The Arnott said, and in a tone of natural bass, which startled one, profound as the profound trombone, I and the sword stand by the red, but this will pass, this molten ore of yellow gold, is there no more? Trust wit for that, the other said, purveyor shall he not purvey, and slid a panel showing store of cups and bottles in array. Then arms at ease and hoe the bench, it made the slender student blench, to hark the jangling of the steel, vibration of the floor to feel, tremor through beams and bones which ran, as that ripe masterpiece of man, plump solid down upon the deal. Derwent a little hung behind, censorious not nor disinclined, but with self-querying countenance, as if one of the cloth perchance do bound should set observed degree in liberal play of social glee, through instinct of good fellow bright, his poise as seemed the lesbian white, divined and justly deeming here the stage required a riper cheer than that before, solicitous, with bubbling cup in either hand, toward Derwent drew he archly bland, then posed and tunefully even thus, a shady rock and trickling too, is good to meet in desert drear. Prithee now, the bidding here, beads of Saba, saintly dew, quaff it, sweetheart, I and you, quaff it, for thereby ye bless beadsmen here in wilderness. Spite of sorrow, magra sen, bless their larder and laud their ben, nor deem that here they vainly pine, who toil for heaven and till the vine. He sings, and in the act of singing, near and more near one cup he's bringing, till by his genial sleight of hand, 'tis lodged in Derwent's and retained, as lit by vintage sunset's hue, which mellow warms the grapes that bleed. In amber light the good man view, nor text of sanction lacked at need. At Cana, who renewed the wine, sourly did I this cup decline, which lo I quaff, and not for food, 'twould, by an implication rude, asperse that festival benign, where brethren, the lamps disclose, the Sapphi Arnott, and the priest, with Rolf and the knot of Sharon rose, ranged at the board for family feasts. But where's Jalea? The cleric cried, 'tis royalty should here preside, and looked about him, truth to own, the Druze his office having done, and brought them into haven there, discharged himself of further care. till the next start, the interim, accounting rightfully his own, and may be heedful not to dim the escutcheon of an emir's son by any needless letting down. The lesbian who had Derwent served officiated for them all, and as from man to man he swerved, grotesque a bit of song let fall. The mufti in Park Suburban lies under a stone surmounted serene by a turban magnific, a marble one. So, man by man, with twinkling air and cup and text of stanza fair, a rabbi in Prague they muster, and mound evermore, looking up at his monument's cluster, a cluster of grapes of Noah. When all were served with wine and rhyme, ho comrade, cried armed Og sublime, your singing makes the filling scant, the flask to me let me decant. With that the host he played brimmed up, and offhand pushed the frequent cup, flung out his thigh and quaffed apace, barbaric in his hearty grace. The while his haughty port did say, who's here uncivilized, I pray? I no good custom stint I ye. Indeed, thought Rolf, a man of mark, and makes a rare symposiarch. I like him, I'll even feel his grip, with that invidious fellowship. Frank, he put out his hand in mood of questionable brotherhood. The slayer stared, anon construed the overture aright, and yet not unreservedly he met the palm. Came it in sort too close? Was it embraces were for foes? Rolf, noting a fine color stir, flushing each happy reveler, now leaned back with this ditty wee. The mountain ash and sumac fine, tipplers of summer, betray the wine. In autumn leaf of vermeil flame, bramble and thorn cry fie for shame. Mortmain aloof and single sat, in range with Rolf as viewed from mat, where vine repose, observing there, that these in contour of the head, and goodly profile made a pair, though one look like a statue dead. Methinks mused vine 'tis Ahab's court, and yon the Tishbite he'll consort. Not long but Kedron seek, it proved, even so the desert heart removed, but he of Bins whose wakeful eye on him had fixed and followed sly until the shadow left the door, turned short and tristful visage wore. In quaint appeal a shrug, and then beseech ye now, ye friendly men, who's he a cup, pray? O my faithful, that funeral cap of his means death. To all good fellowship and feast, mad say he's mad. Awhile the priest and Rolf reminded here in heart of more than well they might impart. Uneasy sat, but this went by. Ill sort some truths with revelry. The giant plied the flask for vine, relaxed he viewed nor spurned the wine, but humorously moralized on those 5 souls in paradise, for term how brief, well pleased to scan, the Middeline, the juicy man. Earth of the earth, thought vine, well, so's a fresh turf, but good the smell, yes, deemed by some medicinal, most too if damped with wine of Xerxes, and snuffed at when the spirit wearies. I have it under strong advising, 'tis good at whiles this centralizing. Would I could joy in it myself, but no, for Derwent he light elf, not vainly stifling recent fret. Under the table his 2 knees pushed deeper, so as even to get closer in comradeship at ease. Arnott and Spahi, in respect of all adventures they had known, these chiefly did the priests affect, adventures such as duly shown, printed in books seem passing strange to clerks which read them by the fire, yet be the wonted commonplace of some who in the Orient range, freelances spendthrifts of their hire, and who in end, when they retrace their lives, see little to admire or wonder at, so dull they be, like fish mid marvels of the sea, to everything that is not pent in self or thereto ministrant. Canto 12. The Timoneer's Story. But ere those Sinbads had begun their Orient Decameron, Rolf rose to view the further hall. Here showed, set up against the wall, heroic traditionally arms, protecting tutelary charms, like Godfrey's sword and Baldwin's spur and treasury of the sepulchre, wherewith they knighthood yet confer, the monks or their superior. sanctified heirlooms of old time, with trophies of the Paynim clime. These last with tarnish on the gilt, and jewels vanished from the hilt. Upon one serpent curving blade, love motto beamed from Antar's rhyme in Arabic. A second said, a scimitar the Turk had made, and likely it had clove a skull, in name of God the merciful. A third was given suspended place, and as in salutation waved, and in old Greek was finely graved, with this, Hail, Mary, full of grace. 'Tis a rare sheaf of arms be here, thought Rolf, who's this? And turned to peer at one who had but late come in, a stranger and avoiding din, made by each distant reveler, anchored beside him his sea gear. Announced the pilgrim Timoneer. The weird and weather-beaten face, bearded and pitted and fine vexed, with wrinkles of Kabbalah text, did yet reveal a twinge-like trace of some late trial undergone, nor less a beauty grave pertained to him, part such as is ordained to eld, for each age hath its own, and even scars may share the tone. Bald was his head as any bell, quite bald except a silvery round of small curled bud-like locks which bound his temples as with asphodel. Such he who in nigh nook disturbed, upon his mat by late uncurbed light revel, came with air subdued, and by the clustered arms here stood, regarding them with dullish eye, of some old reminiscence sad. On him Rolf gazed, and do ye sigh? Hardly they seemed to cheer ye, why? He pursed the mouth and shook the head, but speak, 'tis but an old bewailing, no matter tell, 'twere unavailing. Come now, since you entreat of me, 'tis long ago, I'm aged, see, from Egypt sailing, hurrying to, for spite the sky there always blue, and blue daubed sea so bland the pest was breaking out, the people quailing, in houses hushed from Egypt sailing, and ship I say which shunned the pest, cargo half stored, and alack, one passenger of visage black, but whom a white robe did invest, and linen turban like the rest. A Moor he was with but a chest, a fugitive poor Wahhabi. So ran his story, who by me was smuggled aboard an crew that did their wrangles still renew, jabbing the poniard in the fray, and mutinous withal, I say, from Egypt bound for Venice sailing on Friday, well might here forebode, in this same craft from Cadiz hailing, christened by fair the peace of God, she laden now with rusted cannon, which long beneath the cresset's pennon, on beach had laid condemned and dead, beneath a rampart and from bed, were shipped off to be sold and smelted, and into new artillery melted. I say that to the peace of God, your iron the salt seas corrode. I say there fell to her unblessed a hap more baleful than the pest. Yea, from the first I knew a fear, so strangely did the needle veer. A gale came up with frequent din of cracking thunder out and in. Corposants on yard arms did burn, red lightning forked upon the stern. The needle like an imp did spin, 3 gulls continual plied in wake, which wriggled like a wounded snake. For I, the wretched timoneer, by fitful stars yet tried to steer. Knee shortened sail, the needle flew, the glass lick blurred with damp and dew, and flew the ship we knew not where. Meantime the mutinous bad crew got at the cask and drowned despair. Carousing, fighting, what to do? To all the saints I put up prayer, seeing against the gloomy shades, breakers in ghastly palisades. Nevertheless, she took the rocks, and denning through the grinds and shocks, attend the solving of the riddle. I heard the clattering of blades, shaken within the more strong box, in cabin underneath the needle. How screamed those 3 birds round the mast, slant going over, the keel was broken, and heaved aboard us for death token. To quit the wreck I was the last, yet I, soul white, that scaped the sea, but he the more, oh sorcery, For him no heaven is, no atoner, he proved an armorer, the Jonah, and dealt in blades that poisoned were, a black lieutenant of Lucifer. I heard in Algiers as befell afterward his crimes of hell. I'm far from superstitious, see, but arms and sheath somehow they trouble me. Ha, trouble, trouble. What's that, pray? I've heard of it, bad thing they say. Bug there, ladybug, plumped in your wine, only rose leaves flutter by mine. The gracioso man 'twas he, flagon in hand, held tiltingly. Hal peered at him, that timonier, with what a change still merman cheer, as much he could but would not say, so murmuring not he moved away. Old the lesbian dropped old dry, remainder biscuit, and alas, but recent scaped from luckless pass, indeed, relate, oh by and by, but Rolf would have it then, and so, the incident narrated was forthwith. Recast it thus may flow, the shipmen of the Cyclades, being Greeks even of Saint Saba's creed, are frequent pilgrims from the seas. Greek convents welcome them and feed. Agath, with hearty messmates tin, to Saba, and on foot had fared, from Joppa, duly in the glen. His prayers he said, but rashly dared, afar to range without the wall. Upon him fell a robber brood, some Ammonites choking his call. They beat and stripped him, drawing blood, and left him prone. His mates made search. With friars and ere night found him so, and bore him moaning back to porch. Of Saba's refuge, cure proved slow. The end his messmates might not wait, therefore they left him unto love and charity within that gate. Not lacking, mended now in pain, or convalescent he would fain, back unto Joppa make remove, with the first charitable train. His story told, the teller turned, and seemed like one who instant learned, to rid him of intrusive sigh, yon happier pilgrim by the by. I like him his vocation pray, purveyor he like me purvey. I for the conscience, he's our priest, he's a great judicious one, keeps on the right side of the sun, but here's a song I heard at feast. Canto 13, Song and Recitative. The chalice tall of beaten gold is hung with bells about, the flamen serves in temple old, and weirdly are the tinklings rolled. When he pours libation out, O Sibyl, dread Sibyl, thy turrets nod, thy terrors be, but service done, investment doffed. With cronies in a row behind night's violet velvet soft, the chalice drained he rings aloft. To another tune I trow, O Sibyl, fine Sibyl, jolly thy bends and belfries be. With action timing well the song, his flagon flourished up in air. The varlet of the isle so flung his madcap intimation. There, comic on Rolf his eye retaining, in mirth how full of roguish feigning. Odd I protest, thought Rolf, the man nor malice has, nor faith why ban. This heart, though of religion scant, a true child of the lax Levant, that polyglot and loose-laced mother. In such variety he's lived, where creeds dovetail into each other. Such influences he's received, thrown among all Medes, Elamites, Egyptians, Jews, and proselytes, strangers from Rome and men of Crete, and parts of Libya around Cyrene, Arabians and the throngs ye meet, on Smyrna's quays and all between, Stamboul and Fez thrown among these, a caterer to revelries. He's caught the tints of many a scene, and so become a harlequin, gay patchwork of all levities, holding to now, swearing by here, his course conducting by no keen observance of the stellar sphere, he coasteth under sail lateen. Then let him laugh, enjoy his dinner, he's an excusable poor sinner. 'Twas Rolf, but Clarel, what thought he? For he too heard the lesbian song, there by the casement where he hung, and heart of Saba's mystery, this mocker light. But now in waltz, the pantaloon here Rolf assaults, then keeping arm around his waist, see Rolf's reciprocally placed. 'Tis side by side entwined in ease of Chang and Ing, the Siamese. When leaning mutually embraced, And so these improvised twin brothers dance forward and salute the others, the lesbian flourishing for sign. His wine cup, though it lacked the wine, they sit with random scraps of song. He whips the tandem hours along, or moments rather, in the inn, calling on Derwent to unbend in lyric. I, said Derwent, I. Well, if you like, I'll even give a trifle in recitative. A something, nothing, anything, since little does it signify in festive free contributing. To Hafiz in grape arbor comes Didymus, with book he thumbs, my lord Hafiz, priest of bowers, flowers in such a world as ours, who is the god of all these flowers, Signor Didymus, who knows, none the less I take repose, believe and worship here with wine, in vaulted chapel of the vine, before the altar of the rose. Ah, who sits here, a sailor meek? It was that sea-apparelled Greek. Grey brother, here partake our wine. He shook his head, yes, did decline. Or quaff or sing, cried Derwent then, for learn we be hilarious men. Pray now, you seamen, know to sing. I'm old, he breathes, so many's a tree. Yet green the leaves and dance in glee, the Arnott made the scabbard ring. Sing, man, and here's the chorus sing. Sing, sing, the Isle men, bear the bell. Sing, and the other songs excel. I sing, cried Rolfe, here now's a sample. 'Tis virtue teaches by example. Jars of honey, wineskin dates, and macaroni, falling back upon the senses. Oh, the wrong! Need take up with the recompenses, song a song. They sang about him till he said, sing, sirs, I cannot, this I'll do. Repeat a thing Methodius made, good chaplain of the apostles' crew, priest in ship with saintly bow, warship named from Paul and Peter, grandly carved on castled prow, gliding by the grouped canaries under liquid light of Mary's, mellow star of eventide, lulled by tinklings at the side, I along the taffrail leaning, yielding to the ship's careening, shared that peace the upland owns, where the palm and pine, meeting on the frontier line, seal a truce between the zones. This be ever, mused I lowly, dear repose is this and holy. Like the gospel, it is gracious and prevailing. There audacious, boom, the signal gun, it jarred me. Flash and boom together marred me, and I thought of horrid war, but never moved Grand Paul and Peter, never blenched Our Lady's star. Canto 14, the revel closed. Bless that good chaplain Derwent here, all doves and halcyons round the sphere, defend him from war's rude alarms, then O sweet impudence of wine, then rising and approaching vine, in suppliant way I crave an alms, since this great guest, this serious one, our wrinkled old Euroclydon, since even he with genial breath his quota here contributeth, helping our gladness to prolong thou too. Nay, nay, as everywhere water is found, if one not spare, to dovetail, prithee now, or song, vine's brow shot up with crimson lights, as may the north on frosty nights, over Dilston Hall and his low state, the fair young earl whose bloody end those red rays do commemorate, and take his name, now all did been in chorus crying, tale or song investing him, was no escape, beset by such a Bacchic throng, ambushed in leaves we spy your grape, cried Derwent, black but juicy one, a song, no way for vine to shun. Well, if you'll let me here recline at ease the while, I'll hum a word, which in his Florence loft I heard, an artist trill one morning fine. What is beauty? 'Tis a dream, dispensing still with gladness. The dolphin haunteth not the shoal, and deeps there be in sadness. The rose leaves see disbanded by blowing about me, blowing, but on the deathbed of the rose my amaranths are growing. His amaranths a fond conceit, yes, last illusion of retreat. Short measure 'tis, and yet enough, said Derwent, 'tis hopeful song, or if part sad, not less adorning, like purple in a royal morning, We debtors be now come along, to table we'll take no rebuff. So Vine sat down among them then. Adept, shy prying into men, darewent here wield him, but for sake of conscience noble are not tell. When now I as from dream awake, it just dawns on me, how is this wine bibbing? No, that kind of bliss, your Koran bars, and Belix man, thou smoked before the sun low fell, and this month's what, your Ramadan? May true believers thus rebel, good sooth did neither know to tell, or care to know what time did fall the Islam fast, yet took it so, as Derwent roguish prompted, though it was no Ramadan at all, 'twas far ahead of movable fast, of lunar month which to forecast needs reckoning, ponderous pause, the Anak made Mahone has laws, and Allah's great of course forefend, ho, rouse a stave, and so an end. The Bey, the Emir, and Mameluke lords charged down on the field in a grove of swords. Hurrah, hurrah, and hurrah for the grove of swords in the wind of war. And the Bey to the Emir exclaimed, who knows? In the shade of the scimitars, paradise shows. Hurrah, hurrah, and hurrah for the grove of swords in the wind of war. He sang, then settled down a mate for Mars' high pontiff solemn sate, and on his long broad Basra blade, deep ruminated, less sedate. The spy he now in escapade vented some Turkish guardroom joke, but scarce thereby the other woke to laughter, for he never laughed, into whatever mood he broke. Now verbal levity vouchsafed, so Leonine the man, but here the spy with another cheer into a vein of mockery ran, toasting the feast of Ramadan. Laughing thereat, removed from fear, it was a deep-mouthed massive burst, nor less for all the jovial tone, the echo startling import one, at least for Clarel, little versed in men, their levities and tides, unequal and of much besides. There, by a lattice open swung, over the Kedron's gulf he hung, and poured and pondered with what sweep doubt plunges, and from maw to maw, traditions none the nations keep. Old ties dissolve in one wide thaw, the Frank, the Turk, and even the Jew share it perchance, the Brahmin too, returns each thing that may withdraw. The schools of bluefish, years desert, are sounds and shores, but they revert. The ship returns on her long tack, the bones of Theseus are brought back. A comet shall resume its path, though 3 millenniums go, but faith, ah, Nehemiah, and derwent thou, 'twas dust to dust. What is it now and here? Is life indeed a dream? Are these the pilgrims late that heard the wheeling desert vultures scream above the man and book interred? Screamed like the haglet and the Gaul off Kylo over the foundered hall. But hark, while here light fell, the clink, the 5 cups made touch brink to brink, in fair bouquet of fellowship, and just as the gay lesbian's lip was parted, jetting came a wail, in litany from Kedron's jail, profound in belly of the whale. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, intercede for me, angel of the agony, spare me, merciful be, Lord spare me, spare and deliver me. Arrested those 5 revelers there, fixed in light postures of their glee, seemed problematic shapes ye see, and linked caprice of festal air graved round the Greek sarcophagi. Canto 15, in moonlight. The roller upon Borneo's strand halts not, but in recoiling throw, drags back the shells involved with sand, shuffled and muffled in the flow, and hollow of the wallowing undertow. In night Rolf waked and whelming felt that refulgence of disquiet dealt, in sequel to redundant joy. Around he gazed in vague annoy. Upon his mates the lamplight dim obscurely showed them strangely thrown. And sleep nor heeding eye of him, flung every way with random limb, like horses when the battle's done and stars come up. No sound but slight, calm breathing or low elfin shriek in dream, but Mortmain coiled in plight, lay with one arm wedged under cheek, mumbling by starts the other hand, As the wolfhound the bone, Rolf rose and shook him, whereat from his throes he started glaring, then lapsed down, soft, soft and tender, feel so bland. Grind it 'tis hers, Brinvillier's hand, my nurse from which mad dream anon he seemed his frame to recommand, and yet would give an animal moan. God help thee, and may such ice make, except against some solid. Nay, but thou who mark'st it, get thee away. Nor in such coals of Tartarus rake, so rough and wide a casement through aroma. And is this Judea? Down the long gorge of Kedron blue, a balm beyond the sweet Saba, an air as from Elysian grass, such freshening redolence divine as mariners upon the brine inhale when barren beach they pass, by night a musk of wafted spoil from nature's scent bags in the soil, not in her flowers, nor seems it known, even on the shores wherefrom 'tis blown. Clarel he likewise wakeful grew, and Rose joined Rolf, and both repaired out to a railed-in ledge. In view across the gulf a fox was scared, even by their quiet coming so, and noiseless fled along a line of giddy cornice, till more slow he skulked out of the clear moonshine, for great part of that wall did show to these beneath the shadowed height, with airs hung of a fair moonlight, the limestone mountain cloven asunder, with scars of many a plunge and shock, tremendous of the rifted rock. So hushed now after all the thunder, begat a pain of troubled wonder. The student felt it for redress. He turned him anywhere to find some simple thing to ease the mind, dejected in her littleness. Rolf read him, and in quiet way would interpose, lead off a lay. Look, whispered he, yon object white, this side here on the crag at brink. 'Tis touched, just touched by paler light. Stood we in Finland, one might think, and Herman there lay coiled, but no, a turban 'tis Jalia's aloof, reclining as he used to do in Lebanon upon proud roof. His sires and sea-long pipe in state, he inhales the friendly fumes sedate. Yon turban with the snowy folds announces that my lord there holds the rank of Drew's initiate, not versed in portion mere but total, advanced in secret sacerdotal. Though what these be, or high or low, who dreams might Lady Esther learn? Who, Lady Esther, don't you know? Pitt's Sibyl niece, who made a sojourn in Libanus and read the stars. Self-exiled lady, long ago, she prophesied of wizard wars, and kept a saddled steed in stall, awaiting some Messiah's call, who came not, but yon Drew's veil. Of Sais may one lift nor quail. We'll try. To courteous challenge sent, the Druze responded not by word, indeed, but act. He came content. He leaned beside them in accord, resting the pipe bowl his assent, and joining them. Nay, all his air mute testimony seemed to bear that now night siren element stealing upon his inner frame, pliant had made it, and more tame, with welcome having greeted him. Rolf led along by easy skim and won the topic. Tell us here your Drew's faith. Are there not degrees, orders, a sense of mysteries therein? One would not pry and peer. Of course there's no disclosing these, but what's that working thought you win? The prelate princes of your kin, they doubtless they take their ease. No ripple stirred the emir's son. He whiffed the vapor, kept him stayed. Then from the lip the amber one. No God there is but God, he said, and tapped the ashes from the bowl, and stood. 'Twas passive self-control of Pallas's statue in sacked Rome, which bowed till pushed from off the plinth. Then through the rocky labyrinth betook him where cool sleep might come, but not before farewell sedate. Allah preserve ye, Allah great. Canto 16, The Easter Fire. There's poetessa. We're left behind, and yet I like this prince of pith. Too pithy almost, where'll ye find noblemen to keep silence with. Better than Lord Gilia. But you, it cannot be this interview. Has somehow, no, said Clarel, no. And sighed then, How irreverent was Bilex in the wassail flow. His Ramadan he links with Lent. No marvel what else to infer. Toll taker at the sepulchre. To me he gave his history late, the which I sought. You've marked the state of order shod on old divan, sword pipe and coffee cup at knee, cross-legged within that portal span, which wins the holy tomb? Ay me, with what a bored dead apathy, face eager pilgrims they let in, guard of the urn has Belex been, said Clarel starting, why then yes, he checked himself, nay but confess, cried Rolf. I know the reverie lurks. Frankly admit that for these Turks there's nothing that can so entice to disbelieve, nay, atheize, nothing so baneful unto them, as shrined El Kaj Jerusalem. For look now how it operates to Christ the Turk as much as Frank concedes a supernatural rank. Our holy places too he mates, all but with Mecca's own. But then if chance he marked the cross profaned, by violence of Christian men, so called his faith then needs be strained, the more if he himself have done, enforced thereto by harsh command, irreverence unto Mary's son, how mean you, and the speaker scanned, why not alone has Belex been, an idling guard about the tomb? Nay, but he knows another scene, and fray beneath the selfsame dome, at festivals, what backs he's scored when on the day by Greeks adored. St. Basil's Easter, all the friars, schismatic with the pilgrim tribes, Levantine, Russian, heave their tides of uproar in among the shrines, waiting the burst of fraudful fires, from vent there in the holy tomb, which closeteth the mongers' room. It jets, to quell the rush, the lines of soldiers sway, crack falls the thong, and mid the press some there, though strong, are trampled, trodden till they die, and transfer swift igniting fly. The magic flames which caught along by countless candles multiply, like seas phosphoric on calm nights. Blue shows the fane in fog of lights, but here 'tis hurricane and high, zeal, furious zeal, and frenzying faith, and ecstasy of Attis's scathe. When up the Phrygian mount he rushed, bleeding yet heeding not his shame, while round him frantic timbrels pushed, in rites delirious to name. No Dindymus nor Brahma's crew dream what these Christian fakirs do. Wrecked banners, crosses, ragged palms, red wounds through vestments white ye view, and priests who shout ferocious psalms and hoarse hosannas to their king. Even Christ and naught may work a law, nor timely truce of reason bring, not cutting lash, nor smiting sword, nor yet, oh, more than wonderful, the tomb, the pleading tomb where lay our Lord, but who ordains the imposture speak. The vivid, ever inventive Greek, the Greek, but that is hard to think, seemly the port, gentle the cheer, of friars which lodge upon this brink, of Kedron and do worship here, with rites august and keep the creed, rites august, this ancient sect, stately upholstered and bedecked, is but a catafalque, concede, prolongs in sacerdotal way the lower empire's bastard sway. It does not grow, it does but bide, an orthodoxy petrified. Or if it grow, it grows but with Russia, and thence derives its pith. The Tsar is its armed bishop. See the Tsar's purse, so it comes to me, contributes to this convent's pride. But what's that twinkling through the gloom, far down the lights in chantry? Yes, whence came the flame that lit? Confess. Even from Jerusalem, the tomb, last Easter, horsemen from the porch. Hither each Easter spurs with torch, to reignite the flames extinct. Upon Good Friday, thus you see, contagious is this cheatery. Nay, that's unhandsome, guests we are, and hosts are sacred, house and all, and one may think, and scarcely mar the truth that it may so befall, that as yon docile lamps receive the fraudful flame, yet honest burn, so no collusive guile may cleave unto these simple friars who turn and take whatever the forms dispense, nor question wherefore, ask not whence. Clarel, as if in search of aught to mitigate unwelcome thought, appealed to turret, crag, and star, but all was strange, withdrawn, and far. Yet need we grant Rolf here resume this trick its source had in a dream, artless which few will disesteem, that angels verily illumed those lamps at Easter long ago, though now indeed all come from prayer, as Greeks believe, at least avow, of bishops in the sepulchre. Be rumor just which small birds sing, Greek churchmen would let drop this thing. A fraud, even let it cease, but no, 'tis ancient, 'tis entangled, so with vital things of needful sway, scarce dare they deviate that way. The Latin in this spurious rite joined with the Greek, but long ago, long years since he abjured in quite. Still few Rome's pilgrims here, and they, less credulous than Greeks today, now worldlings in their worldliness, enjoin upon us, never retract. With ignorant folk think you no less of policy pre-seraph may exact. But Luther's clergy, though their deeds take not in posture, yet 'tis seen that in some matters more abstract, these two may be impeached herein. While as each plain observer heeds, some doctrines fall away from creeds, and therewith hopes which scarce again in those same forms shall solace men, perchance suspended and inert may hang, with few to controvert, for ages does the Lutheran to such disciples as may sit receptive of his sanctioned wit, in candor own the dubious weather, and lengthen out the cable's tether. You catch my drift, I do, but nay, some ease the cable, derewent pray. Ah, he is a generous wight, and lets it slip, yes, run out quite. Whether now in his priestly state he seek indeed to mediate 'tween faith and science, which still slight each truce deceptive or discreet, would kindly cover faith's retreat. Alike he labors vainly, nay, and since I think it, why not say, things all diverse, he would unite his idols and hermaphrodite. The student shrank again, he knew, returned for Rolf of quick distaste, but mastered it, for still the hue Rolf kept of candor undefaced, quoting pure nature at his need, as 'twere the venerable Bede, and Adam in his natural ways, but scrupulous lest any phrase through inference might seem unjust. Unto the friend they here discussed, Rolf supplements, derewent but airs, no buoyantly but overstates, and much his genial heart avers. I cannot dream he simulates for pulpiteers, which make their mart, who in the truth not for a day debarred from growth as from decay. Truth won forever, scriptures say, do yet the fine progressive part, show jauntily maintain, these fine for Schilios abound, a kind and favoring audience, but none exceed in flushed repute the one, who bold can harmonize for all, Moses and Comte, Renan and Paul, 'tis the robustious circus man, with legs astride the dappled span, elate he drives white black before, the small apprentices adore. Astute ones be those staid and grave, who in the wars of faith and science remind one of old tactics brave, imposing front of false defiance. The king a corpse, in armor led, on a live horse, you turn your head. You hardly like that, woe is me. What would you have for one to hold, that he must still trim down and cold? Dissemble this were coxcombry. Indulgence should with frankness mate. Fraternal be, tolerate. The modulated voice here won ingress where scarce the plea alone had entrance gained, but to forget illusions which no welcome met in him who heard. Rolf thus went on. Never I've seen it, but they claim that the Greek prelate's artifice comes as a tragic afterpiece to farce, or rather prank and game, racers and tumblers round the tomb. Sports such as might the mound confront, the funeral mound by Hellespont of slain Patroclus, linger still. Such games beneath some groves of bloom in mid-Pacific where life's thrill is primal, pagan and fauns deck. Green theaters for that tattooed Greek, the Polynesian, who will say, these Syrians are more wise than they. Or more humane, not those believe who may the narrative receive of Ibrahim, the conqueror, born dead faint by soldiers red with gore, over slippery courses heaped forlorn, out from splashed cavalry, through the door into heaven's light, urged to ordain that nevermore the frenzying ray should issue, that would but sustain the cry of persecution, nay. Let Allah, if he will, remand these sects to reason, let it stand, cynical Moslem, but didst err, arch-captain of the sepulchre. He stayed in Clarel new decline of all his spirits, as may one who hears some story of his line, which shows him half his house undone. Revulsion came with lifted brows. He gazed on Rolf. Is this the man whom Jordan heard in part espouse the appeal of that Dominican and Rome? And here all sects behold, all creeds involving in one fold of doubt, better a partisan. Earnest he seems, can union be betwixt earnestness and levity? Or need at last, and Rolf confess, thy hollow many-sidedness? But timely here diversion fell, dawn broke, and from each cliff hung cell. 'Twas hailed with hymns, confusion sweet, as of some aviary seat. Commemorative, matin din, 'tis Saba's festival they usher in. Canto 17, a chant. That day, though to the convent brood, a holiday was kept in mood, of serious sort, yet took the tone, and livery of legend grown, poetical if grave, the fane was garnished, and it heard a strain, reserved for festa, and befell, that now and then at interval, some gathered on the cliffs around, would sing St. Cosma's canticle, some read aloud from book embrowned, while others listened. Some prefer a chant in scripture character, or monkish sort of melodram. Upon one group the pilgrims came, in gallery of slender space, locked in the echoing embrace of crags, a choir of seemly men, reposed in cirque nor wanting grace, whose tones went eddying down the glen. First voice, no more the princes flout the word, Jeremiah's in dungeon cast, the siege is up, the walls give way, this desolation is the last, the Chaldee army pouring in, fiercer groan for disarray, hunt Zedekiah that fleeth out, Baal and Assyria win, Israel's last king is shamed in rout. Taken and blinded, chains put on, and captive dragged to Babylon. Second voice, O daughter of Jerusalem, cast up the ashes on the brow, Nergal and Samgar, Sarsakim, break down thy towers, abase thee now. Third voice, O now each lover leaveth. Fourth voice, none comfort me, she saith. First voice, abroad the sword bereaveth. Second voice, at home there is as death. The four, behold, behold, the days foretold begin, a sword without, the pestilence within. First and second voices, but thou that pullest the city down, ah, vauntest thou thy glory so? Second and third voices, God is against thee, haughty one, his archers round about thee go. The four, earth shall be moved, the nations groan, at the jar of Bel and Babylon, in din of overthrow. First voice, but Zion shall be built again. Third and fourth voices, nor shepherd from the flock shall sever, for lo, his mercy doth remain, his tender mercy. Second voice, and forever. The four, forever and forever. Choral, forever and forever his mercy shall remain, and rivers flow forever, forever fall and rain. Canto 18, the minister. Huge be the buttresses enmassed, which shoulder up like Titan men against the precipices vast, the ancient minster of the glen. One holds the library foursquare, a study, but with students few. Books, manuscripts, and cobwebs too, within the church were rich and rare, but for the time stain which ye see, gilded with venerable gold, it shows in magnified degree, much like some tarnished casket old, which in the dusty place ye view, through window of the broker Jew. But Asiatic pomp adheres to ministry and ministers. Of Basil's church that night 'twas seen, and all that festival confers. Plate of Byzantium, stones and spars, Urim and Thummim, gold and green, Music like cymbals clash in wars of great Semiramis the queen, and texts sonorous they intone from parchment not plebeian print, from old and golden parchment brown they voice the old Septuagint, and Gospels and epistles, all in the same tongue employed by Paul, flags, beatific flags they view, ascetics which the haircloth knew. And wooden pillow here were seen, pictured on satin soft, serene, in fair translation, but advanced, above the others and enhanced. About the staff with ring and boss, they mark the standard of the cross. That emblem here in Eastern form, for Derwent seemed to have a charm. I like this Greek cross, it has grace. He whispered Rolf the Greeks eschew, the long limb beauty must have place. Attic, I like it, and do you? Better I'd like it, were it true. What mean you there? I do but mean, 'tis not the cross of Calvary's seen, the Latin cross by that name known, holds the true semblance, that's the one. Was lifted up and knew the nail, 'tis realistic, can avail. Breathed Derwent, then these arches quite, set off and aggrandize the rite. A goodly fane, the incense though, somehow it drugs, makes sleepy so. They purpose down there in ravine, having an auto, act or scene, or something, come pray, let us go. Canto 19, The Mask. 'Tis night with silence save low moan of winds by torches red and glen. A muffled man upon a stone sits desolate soul denizen. Pilgrims and friars on ledge above repose, a figure in remove. This prologue renders, he in view is that Cataphilius, the Jew, who wanders ever in low state. Behold him in Jehoshaphat, the valley underneath the hymn, and towers of grey Jerusalem. This must ye feign with quick conceit, ingenuous, attuned in heart, help out the actor in his part, and gracious be, and made retreat. Then slouching rose the muffled man, gazed toward the turrets, and began, O city yonder, exposed in penalty and wonder, again thou seest me. Hither I still drawn am by the guilty tie between us. All the load I bear, only thou knowest, for thou dost share. As round my heart the phantoms throng, of tribe and era perished long. O thou art haunted, sister in wrong, while ghosts from mounds of recent date invest and knock at every gate. Spectres of 30 sieges old your outer line of trenches hold. Egyptian, Mede, Greek, Arab, Turk, Roman, and Frank beleaguering lurk. Jerusalem, not solely for that bond of doom, between us do I frequent come, hither and make profound resort, in Shavah's dale and Joel's court, but hungering also for the day, whose dawn these weary feet shall stay, when Michael's trump the call shall spread through all your warrens of the dead. Time never may I know the calm, till then my lull the world's alarm. But many mortal fears and feelings in me and me here stand reversed. The unappeased judicial pealings wrench me, not wither me accursed. Just let him live, just let him rove, pronounced the voice estranged from love. Live, live and rove the sea and land. Long live, rove far and understand, and some all knowledge for his dower. For he forbid is, he is banned. His brain shall tingle, but his hand shall palsied be in power. Ruthless, he meriteth no ruth. On him I imprecate the truth. He quailed, then after little truce, moaned querulous my fate. Cut off I am, made separate. For man's embrace I strive no more. For would I be friendly with one, the mystery he guesses of that dreadful lore, which eld accumulates in me, he fleeth me, my face begetteth superstition. In dungeons of Spain's Inquisition, thrice languished I for sorcery, and Almas, in Venice long immured, beneath the wave I lay for conspirator. Some wrong on me is heaped, go where I may among mankind, hence solitude elect I, in waste places brood, more lonely than an only God. For human still I yearn, yea, after a millennium turn. Back to my wife and boy, yet ever I shun the dear abode, or sight thereof of homely joy. I fold ye in the watch of night. Esther, then start, and hast thou been, and I for ages in this plight? Caitiff I am, but there's no sin conjecturable, possible, no crime they expiate in hell, justly whereto such pangs belong. The wrongdoer he endureth wrong. Yea, now the Jew, inhuman erst, with penal sympathy is cursed. The burden shares of every crime, and throttled miseries undirged, unchronicled and guilt submerged, each moment in the flood of time. Go mad I cannot, I maintain, the perilous outpost of the sane. Memory could I mitigate, or would the long years vary any? But no, 'tis fate repeating fate, banquet and war, bridal and hate, and tumults of the people many, and wind and dust soon laid again, vanity, vanity's endless reign. What's there? He paused, and all was hush, save a wild screech and hurtling rush of wings and owl, the hermit true, of grot the eremite once knew. Up in the cleft, alarmed by ray of shifted flambeau, burst from cave, on bushy wing and brushed away, down the long Cadron gorge and grave. It flees, but it will be at rest anon, but I and hung oppressed. Years, 80 years seem much to men, 305, 800 then, and add 1,000, these I know, that eighth dim cycle of my woe, the which ahead did so delay, to me now seems but yesterday. To Rome I wandered out of Spain, and saw thy crowning Charlemagne. On Christmas Eve is all but dream, or is this Sheva? And on high, is that even that Jerusalem? How long, compute hereby, the years, the penal years to be, reckoned by years, and years, whose calendar thou here mayest see, on grave slabs which the blister sears, of ancient Jews which sought this clime, inscriptions nigh extinct, or blent or interlinked, with dotard a scrawl of idiot time, transported felon on the seas, pacing the deck while spray clouds freeze, pacing and pacing night and morn, until he staggers overlorn. Through time so I, Christ convict grim, deathless and sleepless, lurching farce, deathless and sleepless through remorse for him, deathless when sleepless were enough to bear. Rising, he slouched along the glen, halting at base of crag detached, erect as from the barrier snatched, an upright lodge below. And then Absalom's pillar, see the shoal, before it pebble, flint, and stone, with malediction, jeer, or groan, cast through long ages, what soul that was but human without sin, did hither the first just missile spin. Culprit am I, this hand flings none, rather through yon dark yawning gap, missed by the rabble in mishap. Of peltings vain, abject I'd go, and contrite coil down there within, lie still and try to ease the throw. But nay, away, not long the feet unblessed may stay. They come, the vengeful vixens strive, the harpies low-hag Gorgon drive. They're caught along as swept by sand, in fierce Sahara hurricaned. He fled and vanished down the glen, the spy he who absorbed had been. By the true acting turned amain, and letting go the mental strain, vented a resonant Bismillah, strange answering which pealed from on high. Deis Eradis Allah. They looked, and through the lurid fume, profuse of torches that but die, and ghastly there the cliffs illume, the skull-capped man they mark on high, fitful revealed as when through rift of clouds which died by sunset drift, the Matterhorn shows its cragged austerity. Canto 20, Afterword. Seedsmen of old Saturn's land, love and peace went hand in hand and sowed the era golden. Golden time for man and mead, title none, nor title deed, nor any slave, nor soldan. Venus burned both large and bright, honeymoon from night to night, nor bride nor groom wax olden. Big the tears, but ruddy ones, crushed from grapes in vats and tons, of vineyard green and golden, Sweet to sour did never sue, none repented ardor true. Those years did so embolden. Glum dun graviers, slunk in den, frankly rove the gods with men, in gracious talk and golden, thrill at symbols of my rhyme. Power was love and love in prime, nor revel to toil beholden. Back come back, good age and reign, goodly age and long remain, Saturnian age, the golden. The masquer gone, by stairs that climb, in seemly sort the friars withdrew, and waiting that the islesman threw his couplets of the Arcadian time, then turning on the pilgrims who, the bird of paradise don't like owls, a handful of acorns after the cows. But Clarel, bantered by the song, sad questioned if in frames of thought and feeling there be right and wrong, whether the lesson Joel taught confute what from the marbles caught in sylvan sculpture bacchant fawn, or shapes more lax by Titian drawn. Such counter natures in mankind, mole, bird, not more unlike we find. Instincts adverse, nor less how true, each to itself. What clue, what clue? Canto 21, in confidence. Towers twain crown Saba's mountain height, and one with larger outlook bold. Monks frequent climb or day or night, to peer for Arabs in the breeze, so the ship's lifted topmen hold. Watch on the blue and silver seas, to guard against the slim Malay, that perilous imp whose slender proa great halls have rued, as in ill hour the whale the swordfish lank essay. Upon that pile to catch the dawn, alert next day see Derwent stand with Clarel, all the mountain land disclosed through Kedron far withdrawn, cloven and shattered, hushed and banned, seem poised as in a chaos true, or throwlock of transitional earth, when old forms are annulled and new, rebel and pangs suspend the birth. That aspect influenced Clarel fair, Derwent's regard played otherwhere. Expectant twilight gray took on, suffusion faint of cherry tone. The student marked it, but the priest marked whence it came, turned the east. Oh, look, how like an ember red, the seed of fire by early hand, raked forth from out the ashy bed, shows yon tinged flake of dawn, see fanned, as 'twere by this spice air that blows, the live coal kindles, the fire grows. And mute he watched till all the east was flame, ah, who would not here come, and from dull drowsiness released, behold morn's rosy martyrdom. It was an unaffected joy, and showed him free from all annoy, within such say as mutiny, of non-content and random touch, that he perchance had overmuch favored the first night's revelry, for Clarel, though at call indeed he might not else than turn and feed on florid dawn, not less anon, when wonted light of day was won, sober and common light with that, returned to him his unelate an unalleviated tone, and thoughts, strange thoughts, derived overnight, touching the Swede's dark undelight, recurred with sequence, how profuse, concerning all the company, the Arnaut and the man of glee, the lesbian and calm grave Druce, and Belex, yes, and in degree, even Rolf Vine too, lest he who trim beside him stood eludes his doubt. Derwent himself, whose easy skim never had satisfied throughout, he now, if not deemed less devout, through wassail and late hint of him, was keenlier scanned, yet part might be, effect of long society, which still detracts, but in review, of one who could such doubt renew. Clarel inveighs, parhelion orb, of faith autumnal, may the dew of earth's sad tears thy rays absorb. Truth bitter, Derwent bred distrust, heavier than came from Mortmain's thrust, into the cloud profounder far than Ashor's glen with ominous scar. All aliens now being quite aloof, fain would he put that soul to proof. Yet fearful lest he might displease, his topics broached he by degrees, needless, for Derwent never shrunk. Lad, this diffidence forget. Believe you talk here to no monk, whose old Duns Scotus we're well met. Glad that at last your mind you set in frank communion here with me. Better had this been earlier, though. There lack not times of privacy. Had such been sought, but yes, I know you're young, you're off the poise, and so a link have felt with hearts the same, though more advanced I scarce can blame. And yet perhaps one here might plead, these rather stimulate than feed, nor less let each tongue say its say, therefrom we truth elicit nay, and with the worst 'tis understood, we broader clergy think it good. No more to use censorious tone, license to all, we are alone. Speak out, that's right, the student first, cited the din of clash belief, so loud in Palestine in chief, by Calvary, where are rehearsed within the sepulchre's one fane, all rituals which ere Luther's reign shared the ascent of Christendom. Besides, how was it even at home? Behind the mellow chancel's rail lurked strife intestine, what avail? The parlor chapels liberal, the hearers their own minds elect. The very pews are each a sect. No one opinion's steadfast sway, a wide and elemental fray, as with ships moored in road unsafe, when gales augment and billows chafe. Hull drives against hull endangering all, in crossing cables, while from thrall of anchor others dragged amain, drift seaward so the churches strain. Much so the fleet's sectarian meet doubts equinox. Yes, all was dim. He saw no one secure retreat. Of late so much had shaken him, there went in grave concern inclined. Part true, alas, nor less he claimed reserves of solace and of kind. Beyond that in the desert named, when the debate was scarce with men who owned with him a common ground, true center where they might convene. And yet this solace, when unbound, at best proved vague, so Clarel deemed. He thought, too, that the priest here seemed embarrassed on the sudden nay. He faltered, what could so betray, in single contact, heart to heart, with young, fresh, fervid earnestness? Was he surprised into distress, an honest quandary, a smart, more trying even than Mortman's dart? Grieving and graveling could deal, but Derwent rallied and with zeal. Shall everything then plain be made, not that there's any ambuscade, and use first heat to think to know, for time to swell to bear across, yet on some waters here below, pilots there be if one's at loss. The pupil colored, then restrained, an apt retort to personal. Content with this, pilots retained, but in debates which I recall, such proof but not, this side, that side, they crossing hail through fogs that dwell upon a limitless deep tide, while their own cutters tolled the bell of groping. Derwent bit the lip, altered again, had fain let slip, throw all this burden upon him, but hesitated, changing trim. Considerate, then he turned a look, which seemed to weigh as in a book, just how far youth might well be let into maturity's cabinet. He, as in trial, took this tone, not but there's here and there a heart, which shares at whiles strange throbs alone, such as the freakish sting will start. No umperage, they cry, we dote, to dream heaven drops a casting vote. In these perplexities takes part. Clarel uncertain stood at gaze, but Derwent, riving that amaze, advanced impulsively, your hand, no longer will I be restrained. Yours is a sect, but never mind, by function we are intertwined. Our common function, weigh it thus. Clerics, we are clerics, my son, nay, shrink not so incredulous. Paternally my sympathies run, toward you I yearn, well now what joy, what saving calm, what but annoy, and all this hunt without one clue, what lack ye, pray, what would ye do? Have faith which even from the myth draws something to be useful with, in any form some truths will hold, employ the present sanctioned mold. Nay, hear me out, clean breast I make, quite unreserved, and for whose sake? Suppose an instituted creed, or truth or fable should indeed to ashes fall, the spirit exhales, but reinfunds in active forms. First popular verse it charms or warms, bellies philosophy's flattened sails, tinctures the very book, perchance, which claims a rest of its advance, why the true import, deeper use, shows first when reason quite slips noose, and faith's long dead attest that gold, which Bacon counted down and told, in one ripe tract by time unshamed, wherein from riddle he reclaimed the myths of Greece, but go back well, reach to the years of first decay, or totter, prithee lad, but tell, how with the flamens of that day, when brake the sun from morning's tents, and walked the hills and gilded thence, the fane in porch, the priest in view, bowed, hailed Apollo, as before, ere change set in, what else to do, or whither turn, or what adore, what but to temporize for him, stranded upon an interim, between the ebb and flood he knew. You see, transfer, apply it you. I'll know I what you there advise. Ah, heaven, and for a moment stood, then turned, a rite they solemnize, an awful rite, and yet how sweet, to humble hearts which sorrows beat. Tell us that mystic flesh and blood, I shrink to utter it, of old, for medicine they mummy sold, conjurer's balsam. God, my God, sorely thou triest me the clod, upon the impassioned novice here, discreet the kind proficient throws, the glance of one who still would peer, were best to take the hedge or close. Ere long you'd do the world some good, well then no good man will gainsay. That good is good done anyway, in any name, by any brotherhood. How think you there, from Clarel not, went on, for lamp you yearn, a lantern to benighted thought, obtain it, whither will you turn? Still lost you'd be in blanks of snow. My fellow creature, do you know that what most satisfies the head least solaces the heart? Less light than warmth needs earthly white. Christ built a hearth, the flame is dead. We'll say extinct but lingers yet. Enlodged in stone the hoarded heat. Why not nurse that? Would rive the door, and let the sleet in. But once over this tearing glow, never to man methinks shall come the like again. What if some camp or crags austere, the Stoic held ere gospel cheer? There may the common herd abide, having dreamed of heaven. Nay, and can you shun that? What shall needier do? Think, the student sorely tried, the appeal and implication felt, but comfort none, and Derwent dealt heaped measure still. All your ado in youth was mine, your swarm I knew, of buzzing doubts. But is it good such gnats to fight, or well to brood in selfish introverted search? Leaving the poor world in the lurch, not so did Christ, nor less he knew, and shared a troubled era too, and shared besides that problem gray, which is forever and alway, his person our own shadow through, then heed him, heed his eldership. In all respects did Christ indeed credit the Jews' crab-apple seed, whereto he yet conformed, or so but use it, graft it with his slip from paradise? No, 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 no. Spare fervid speech, but for the rest, be not extreme, midway is best. Herein 'tis never as by Nile, from waste to garden but a style, betwixt rejection and belief. Shadings there are degrees in brief. But wean you, gentle friend, your way of giving to yourself the goad is obsolete, no more the mode. Our comrades, frankly let me say, that Rolf, good fellows though he be, and Vine, methinks, would you but see, are much like prints from plates but old, interpretations so unfold, new finding, happy gloss or key, a decade's now a century, Byron's storm cloud away has rolled, joined Werther's, Shelley's drowned, and why, perverse were now even Hamlet's sigh, perverse and decorous indeed, even so, even sadly is it so, not sad, but veritable, no. But what house this? For here, with speed of passion Clarel turned, forbear. Ah, wherefore not at once name Job, and whom these hamlets all conglobe? Own with me, and spare to feign. Doubt bleeds, nor faith is free from pain. Derwent averted here his face. With his own heart he seemed to strive, then said, alas, too deep you dive. But hear me yet for little space. This shaft you sink shall strike no bloom. The surface, ah, heaven keeps that green, green sunny nature's active scene. for man appointed man's true home. He ended Saba's desert lay, glare rived by gloom that comment sway. He felt our privacy is gone. Here trips young Anselm to espy, Arab or pilgrim drawing nigh. Dost hear him? Come then, we'll go down, proceed. At every step and steep, while higher came the youthful monk, lower and lower Clarel sunk. The frighted heart, it touched this deep. Ah, Nehemiah, alone art true, secure in reason's wane or loss. Thy folly, that folly of the cross, contemned by reason, yet how dear to you. Canto 22, The Medallion. In Saba, as by one consent, frequent the pilgrim single went, so parting with his young compeer, and breaking fast without delay, for more restorative and cheer, good Derwent lightly strolled away, within this monkish capital, chapels and oratories all, and shrines and coves of gilded gloom, the kitchen too and pantler's room. Naught came amiss, anear the church he drew unto a kind of porch, such as next some old ministers be, an inner porch named Galilee, in parlance of the times gone by, a place for discipline and grief, and here his tarry had been brief, but for a shield of marble nigh, set in the living rock a stone in low relief where well was shown, before an altar under sky, a man in armor, visor down, in lock complete in panoply, uplifting reverent a crown in invocation. This armed man in corselet showed the dented plate, and dread streaks down the thigh piece ran. But the bright helm in violet seemed raised above the battle zone. Cherubic with a rare device perched for the bird of paradise, a victor seemed he without pride, of victory or joy in fame. 'Twas reverence and naught beside, unless it might that shadow claim, which comes of trial, yes, the art so cunning was that it in part, by fair expressiveness of grace, atoned even for the visored face. Long time becharmed here Derwent stood, charmed by the marble's quiet mood, of beauty more than by its tone of earnestness, though these were one. In that good peace, yes, long he fed, ere yet the eye was lower led, to trace the inscription underrun. O fair and friendly manifested spirit, before thine altar dear, let me recount the marvel of the story, fulfilled in tribute here. In battle waged where all was fraudful silence, foul battle against odds, disarmed I fallen and trampled, pray death sue, come, death thy hand is God's. A pale hand noiseless from the turf responded, riving the turf and stone, it raised, rearmored me, sword and golden armor, and waved me warring on. O fairest, friendliest, and ever holy, O love dissuading fate, to thee, the rescuer, the sainted, the crown I dedicate. To thee I dedicate the crown a guerdon, the winner may not wear. His wound reopens and he goes to haven. Spirit, befriend him there. A hero, and shall he repine? 'Tis not Achilles, and straightway he felt the charm and sort decline, and turning saw a votary gray. Good brother, tell, make this thing clear. Who set this up? 'Twas long ago. Yes, long before I harbored here. Long centuries, they say, why no. So bright it looks, 'tis recent, sure. Who set it up? A count turned monk. What count? His name he did abjure. For Lazarus, and ever shrunk from aught of his life's history. Yon slab tells all or nothing, see. But this I've heard, that when the stone hither was brought from Cyprus fair, some happy sculptors flourished there. When Venice ruled, he said to one, they've made the night too rich appear, too rich in helm, he set it here, and Saba as securest place, for memorial of grace, to outlast him and many a year. Canto 23, Derwent with the Abbot. 'Tis travel teaches much that's strange, mused Derwent in his further range, then fell into uneasy frame. The visored man relinquished name, and touch of unglad mystery. He rallied, I will go and see the Archimandrite in his court, and thither straight he made resort, and met with much benignity. The abbot's days were near the span, a holy and right reverend man. by name Christodulus, which means servant of Christ, behind the screens. He kept but issued the decree, unseen he ruled and sightlessly. Yes, blind he was, stone blind and old, but in his silken vestment rolled, at midday on his Persian rug, showed cozy as the puss Maltese, demure and rosy, firelight snug, upon the velvet him at ease of seated ladies, luxuries of robe, for all his days and nights which eld finds wakeful, and the slights of churlish time life still could please, and chief what made the charm to be, was his retention of that toy, dear to the old authority. And blent herewith was soothing balm, senior complacency of calm, a settledness without alloy, and tried belief how orthodox and venerable, which the shocks of schism had stood ere yet the state of Peter claimed earth's pastorate. So far back his Greek church did plant, Rome's pope he deemed but Protestant, a rationalist, a bigger pain, heretic worse than Arian, he lumped him with that compound mass of sectaries of the West, alas. Breathe Derwent, this is a lone life, remove thou art from din and strife, but from all news as well, even so, my son, but what's news here below? For hearts that do Christ's promise claim, no haps important since he came, besides in Saba here remain, 10 years then back the world regain, 5 minutes talk with anyone would put thee even with him, son. Pretentious are events but vain, but new books authors of the time, books have we ever new, sublime, the scriptures, drama, precept fine, verse and philosophy divine, all bless, believe again, O son, God's revelation, holy writ, quite supersedes and makes unfit. All text save comment thereupon, the fathers have we these discuss. Sweet Chrysotom, Basilis, great Athanas, and but all's known to you, no question in the mean of Derwent as this dropped in ear. A junior's deference was seen, and nothing he controverted. Here he won the old man's heart, he knew, and readier brought to pass the thing that he designed, which was to view the treasures of this hermit king. At hint urbane, the abbot called an acolyth, a blue-robed boy, so used to service. He forestalled his lighter wishes, and took joy in serving. Keys were given. He took from out a coffer's deeper nook small shrines and reliquaries old, beryl and Indian seed pearl set, and little folding doors of gold and ivory of triptych form, with starred Byzantine pictures warm, and opening into cabinet, where lay secured in precious zone the honeycomb gray greenish bone of storied saint, but prize supreme, where some he dwelt upon detained, felt of them lovingly in hand, make of such a text or theme, for grave particulars far back, tracing them in monastic dream, while fondling them in way alack of Jew his coins with just esteem for rich encasings. Here anew Derwent's attention was not slack, yet underneath a reverence due. Slyly he kept his pleasant state, the dowager, her family plate, the abbot with a blind man's way of meek divining guessed the play of inkept comment. Son, said he, these dry bones cannot live. What then? In times ere Christianity by worldlings was professed true men, and brave which sealed their faith in blood, or flamed the Christian brotherhood. Revered, attended them in death, caught the last parting of the breath. Happy were they, could they but own some true memento, but a bone, purchased from executioner, or begged hence relics. Trust me, son, 'twas love began, and pious care prolongs this homage. Derwent bowed, and bland. Have miracles been wrought from these? No, none by me avowed. From knowledge personal, but then such things may be, for they have been, 'tis in the scripture taught, that contact with Elisha's bones restored the dead to life. Most true, eyeing the bits of skeletons, as in enlightened reverence knew, forgetting that his host was blind, nor might the flattery receive. Ere long observing the old man, waxed weary, and to doze began, strange settling sidelong, half reclined, his blessing craved he, and took leave. Canto 24, Vault and Grotto. But Clarel bides he still by tower. His was no sprightly frame nor mate. He sought it was his inner hour, yes, keeping to himself his state, nor thinking to break fast till late. He moved along the gulf's built flank, within the enclosures rank over rank. The cost was none, for none he saw, until the Druze he chanced to meet, smoking, nor did the emir draw the amber from the mouth to greet, not caring so to break the spell of that Elysian interval, but lay his pipe at lengthy lean, reclined along the crag serene, as under Spain's San Pedro dome, the longsword Cid upon his tome, and with an unobtrusive eye, yet apprehending in mild mind, regarded him as he went by, tossed in his trouble. 'Twas a glance Clarel did many a time recall, though its unmeant significance, that was the last thing learned of all, but passing on by ways that wend, a place he gained secluded there, in ledge a cenobite inclined, busy at scuttle hole and floor of rock like smith who may repair a bolt of Mammon's vault. The door or stony slab lay pushed aside, deeming that here the monks might store, in times of menace which they bide, their altar plate. Clarel drew near, but faltered at the friar's sad tone. Ascetical, he looked like one whose life is but a patience mere, or worse, a fretting doubt of cheer. Beyond he toiled as in employ, imposed a bondman far from joy. No answer made he to salute, yet deaf might be, and now while mute, the student lingered low down slipped, through cleft of crags the sun did win, aloft in Cadron's citadel, a fiery shaft into that crypt, like well-pole slant in farmhouse well, and lighted it, and he looked in, on stony benches, head by head, in court where no recorders be, preserved by nature's chemistry, sat the dim conclave of the dead, encircled where the shadow rules, by sloping theaters of skulls. He rose, retreated by the line of cliff, but paused at tones which sent so pale the ends, nor imminent, nor far stand thou the countersign. It came from over Kedron's rent. Thitherward then his glance he bent, and saw by mouth of grot or mine, rustic with wicket's rude design, a sheeted apparition wait, like Lazarus at the charnel gate. In Bethany, the countersign, reply, say something, yea, say death. Prompted the monk, erewhile so mute, Clarel obeyed, and in a breath advanced, the shroud cried, turning foot, and so retired there into gloom within, and all again was dumb. And who that man or ghost he yearned unto the toiler who returned, Searle, 'tis long since that he craved over against to dwell encaved. In youth he was a soldier, go, but Clarel might not end it so. I pray thee, friend, what grief or zeal could so unhinge him, that reveal. Go ask your world, and Grim toiled on, fitting his clamp as if alone, dismissing him austerely thus, and Clarel sooth felt timorous, conscious of seeds within his frame, transmitted from the early gone. Scarce in his heart might he disclaim that challenge from the shrouded one. He walked in vision, saw in fright, where through the limitless of night the spirits innumerable lie, strewn like snared miners in vain flight, from the dull black damp die, to be then not to be to end, and yet time never, never suspend his going. This is cowardice, to brood on this. Ah, Ruth, thine eyes abash these base mortalities, but slid the change anew, it slid, as by the Dead Sea marge forbid. The vision took another guise. From neath the closing, lingering lid, Ruth's glance of love is glazing met, reproaching him, dost tarry yet? Canto 25, Derwent and the Lesbian. If where in blocks unbeautified, but lath and plaster may divide, the cot of dole from bed of bride, here then a page's slender shell, is thick enough to set between the graver moral, lighter mean, the student and the cap and bell, 'tis nature, pastime to achieve, after he reverent did leave, the dozer in the gallery, there went good man of pleasantry, he sauntered by the stables old, and there the ass spied through a door, lodged in a darksome stall or hold, the head communing with the floor, taking some barley near at hand, he entered but was brought to stand. Hearing a voice, don't bother her, she cares not, she for provender. Respect her nunnery, her cell. She's pondering, see the ass's hell. He turned it was the lesbian wag, who offered straight to be his guide. Even anywhere, be it vault or crag, well thanks, but first to feed your nun. She fasts overmuch, there it is done. Come show me, do that famous tide, evoked up from the waste they tell. The canonized abbot's miracle, Saint Saba's fount, where foams it, pray, near where the damned one's den, what say? Down plummets down, but come along, and leading wild the way was song. Saintly lily, credit me, sweet is the thigh of the honeybee, ruddy ever and oleose, ho for the balm of the red, red rose. Stair after stair, and stair again, and ladder after ladder free, lower and steeper, till the strain of chord irked Derwent, verily even as but now you lightly said, 'tis to Avernus we are bending, and how much further this descending. At last they dropped down on the bed of Kedron, sought a cavern dead, and there the fount, 'tis cool to sip. I'm told my cup here 'tis wilt dip, and proffered it with me. Alas, this natural dilution of water never did agree. Mine is a touchy constitution, 'tis a respectable fluid, though. Ah, you don't care, well come out do. The thing to mark here's not the well, but Saba in her crescent swell. Terrace on terrace piled, and see, up there by yon small balcony, our famous palm stands a sentinel. Are you a good believer? Why? Because that blessed tree? Not I. But all our monks avouch it so. Was set 1,000 years ago by Dibble and Saint Saba's hand. Indeed, heaven crown him for it palm, thou benediction in the land. A new millennium mayest thou stand. So fair no fate would do thee harm, much he admired the impressive view. Then facing round and gazing up, where soared the crags yon grotto's view, which make the most ambitious group of all the laurel row on row, can one attain forward. And so up by a cloven rift they plied, saffron and black branded beside, like to some felon's wall of cell, smoked with his name, up they impel, till Derwent, overwearied, cried, Dear Virgil mine, you are so strong, but I, thy Dante, am nigh dead. Who daunts ye, friend? Don't catch the thread, the ascending path was ever long, ah yes, well cheer it with a song. My love, but she has little feet, and slippers of the rose from under, oh, the lavender sweet, just peeping out, demurely neat, but she never knows, no, she never knows. A dimpled hand is hers, and even as dainty as her toes. In mine confiding it shall lean, till heaven knows what my tinglings mean. But she never knows, oh no, she never knows, no, never hissed, nay, reveler stay. Lacrima Christi makes ye glad. Where joys he now shall next go mad. His snare the spider weaves in sun, but ye your lease has yet to run. Go, from ye no countersign. Such incoherence where lurks he? The ghoul, the riddler, in what mine? It came from an impending crag, or cleft therein, or cavity. The man of bends a bit did drag, but quick to Derwent never lag. A crazy friar, but prithee haste. I know him, Cyril, there we've passed. Well, that is queer. The queerest thing, said Derwent, breathing nervously. He's ever ready with his sting. Though dozing in his grotto dull, demented pity, let him be. Aye, if he like that kind of haul, let the poor wasp den in the skull. What's that here, Derwent? That shrill cry, and glanced aloft, for mercy look. A great bird crossed up in sky, over the gulf and under him. Its downward flight a black thing took, and eddying by the past sheer rim. Still spun below, 'tis Mortmain's cap, the skull cap. Skull, is it, say ye, skull? from heaven flung into Kedron's lap? The gods were ever bountiful. No, there I see, small as a wren, that death's head of all mortal men. Look where he's perched on topmost crag, bareheaded brooding, oh the hag, that from the very brow could pluck the cap of a philosopher. So near the sky, then with mock disdain and drop it queer to square. Indeed, one did the same to me, yes, much the same, pecked at my hat. I mountain riding dozingly upon a dromedary drear, the devil's in these eagles' gear. She ones they are, be sure of that. That be so saucy, ahoy there thou. Shooting the voice in sudden freak athwart the chasm, where winded slow, the timoneer, that pilgrim Greek, the graybeard in the mariner trim, the same that told the story over, of crazy compass and the Moor, but he indeed, not hearing him, pursued his way. That salted one, that pickled old sea Solomon, tempests have deafened him, I think. He has a tale, can make ye wink, and paddock comes in two. But dwell, here sit we down, here while I tell. Canto 26, Vine and the Palm. Along those ledges up and down, through terse sexed nuns in ritual flight, to vespers and mild evening brown, on errand best to angels known, a shadow creepeth, brushed by light. Behold it stealing now over one, reclined aloof upon a stone. High up 'tis vine, and is it I? He muses, I that leave the others, or do they leave me? One could sigh for Ahmed with his 100 brothers, how share the gushing amity with all divine philanthropy. For my part, I but love the past. The further back, the better, yes. In the past is the true blessedness, the future's ever overcast. The present I, plebeian, so Saba thou find long ago, lithographed here, thee do I love, and yet tomorrow I'll remove, with right good will, a fickle lover, is only constant as a rover. Here I lie, poor solitaire, but see the brave one over there. The palm, come now to pass the time, I'll try an invocation free. Invoke it in a style sublime, yet sad as sad sincerity. Witness to a watered land, voucher of a vernal year. Saint Saba's palm, why there dost stand? Wouldst thou win the desert here? To dreams of Eden, thy device intimates a paradise. Nay, thy plume would give us proof that thou thyself art prince thereof. Fair lord, that domain, but lonely dwelling in thy reign. Kinship claimest with the tree, worshipped on Delos in the sea. Apollo's palm, it ended, nor dear divinities befriended. Thou that pledgest heaven to me, stem of beauty, shaft of light, behold thou hangest suspended. Over Kedron and the night shall come the fall, shall time disarm, the grace, the glory of the palm. Tropic seraph, thou once gone, who then shall take thy office on, redeem the waste and high appear, apostle of Thalassa's year, and climes where rivers of waters run, but braid thy tresses, yet thou art fair. Every age for itself must care. Braid thy green tresses, let the grim awaiter find thee never dim. Serenely still thy glance be sent, plumb down from horror's battlement. Though the deep fates be concerting a reversion, a subyurding, still bear thee like the seraphim. He loitered, lounging on the stair, howbeit the sunlight still is fair. Next meetly here behooves narrate how fared they, seated left but late, viewless divine above their dell, viewless and quite inaudible. Derwent and his good gossip Cosi, the man of Lesbos, light and rosy, his anecdote about to tell. Canto 27, Man and Bird. Yes, Pat, it comes in here for me. He says that one fine day at sea, 'twas when he younger was and spry, being at masthead all alone, while he his business there did ply, strapping a block where halyards run, he felt a fanning overhead, looking up and so into the eye of a big bird, red-pilled and black in plume. It startled him. He said it seemed a thing demoniac. From poise it went to wheeling round him. Then when in days it well had pound him, it pounced upon him with a buffet. He enraged essayed to cuff it. But along had one hand the other still holding on the spar, and so, while yet they shouted from below, and yet the wings did whir and smother, the bird tore at his old wool cap, and chanced upon the brain to tap. Up went both hands, he lost his stay, and down he fell, he and the bird, maintaining still the airy fray. And souse plumped into sea and heard, while sinking there, the piercing gird of the grim fowl that bore away the prize at last. And did he drown? Why, there he goes, and pointed him, where still the mariner winded on. 'Twas in smooth water, he could swim. They luffed and flung the rope and fired the harpoon at the shark untired. Astern and dragged him, not the shark, but man they dragged him board the bark. And down he dropped there with a thump, being waterlogged with a spongy lump of quilted patches on the shirt, of wool and trousers, all inert. He lays, he says, and true's the word, that bitterer than the brine he drank was that shrill gird the while he sank. A curious story, whoever heard of such a fray twixt man and bird. Bird, but he deemed it was the devil, and that he carried off his soul in the old cap, nor was made whole, till some good vicar did unravel the snarled illusion in the skein, and he got back his soul again, but lost his cap. A curious story, a bit of nature's allegory. And well, what now? You seem perplexed, and so am I, your friend there, see. Up on yon peak he puzzles me, wonder where I shall find him next. Last time 'twas where the corn cribs, by bone cribs, I mean in church. You know, the blessed martyr's holy bones, hard by the porch as in you go. Sabaoth's bones, the 1,000 of slaughtered monks, so faith avers. Dumb peering in there through the bars he stood, then in the spider's room. I saw him there, yes, quite at home, in long abandoned library old, conning a venerable tome, while dust of ages round him rolled, nor heeded he the big fly's buzz, but mid heap parchment leaves that mold, sat like the bankrupt man of Uz, among the ashes, and read, much learning has it made him mad? Kedron well suits him, 'twould appear. Why don't he stay, yes, anchor here, turn anchorite, and do ye's pun? And he such an austere one? Thought Derwent then, well run your rig, hard to be comic and revere, and once 'twas tittered in mine ear, St. Paul himself was but a prig, who's safe from the derision. Here aloud, why yes, our friend is queer, and yet as some esteem him not, without some wisdom to his lot. Wisdom, our Cyril is deemed wise. In the East here, one who's lost his wits, for saint or sage they canonize. That's pretty good for perquisites. I'll tell you, Cyril, some do own, has gained such prescience as to man, through seldom seeing any one. To him's revealed the mortal span of any wight he peers upon, and that's his hobby, as we proved but late. Then not in vain we've roved, winning the oracle whose caprice of years we've yet to run our lease, linked to that least. But let's return, give over climbing and adjourn, just as you will, but first to show a curious cavern place hard by. Another crazed monk start not so, he's gone clean vanished from the eye. Another crazed one, deemed inspired, long dwelt in it, he never tired. Ah, here it is, the vestibule. They reach an inner grotto cool, lighted by fissure up and dome. Fixed was each thing, each fixture stone bed, bench, cross, and altar stone. How like you it, Habibi's home? You see these writings on the wall. His craze was this, he heard a call, ever from heaven. O scribe, write this, that right to these indite. To them forever it was right. Well, right he did, as here you see. What is it all? Dim to me. Said to weren't I obscurely traced, and much is rubbed off or defaced. But here now this is pretty clear. I am the enemy of all. From me deliver me, O Lord. Poor man, but here, dim here. There is a hell over which mere hell serves for a heaven. Oh, terrible, profound pit that must be. What's here? Half faded, teens, 6, the 100 summers run, except to be in cicatrix. The aloe flowers, none. Ah, Nostradamus' prophecy is so explicit. But this, see, much blurred again, testimony. Grown fat and gray, the lie down, and full of honey. The bear shall rummage him in May. Yes, bears like honey, yon gap. There well lights the grotto, and this air is dry and sweet, nice citadel for study. Or desert room, so haste seen enough? Then let us go. Right, indict. What peer you at? Emerging, Derwent turning round, small text spied which the doorway crowned. Ha, new to me, and what is that? The islesman asked, pray read it over. Ye here who enter Hobby's den, beware what hints ye take, amen. Why didn't he say that before? But what's to take? All's fixture here. Occult, said Derwent, queer. Returning now, they made descent, the pilot trilling as they went. King Cole sang as he clinked the can. Soul goes round, and the mill horse too. £1,000 for a fireproof man. The devil vows he's the sole true blue. And the prick louse sings, see the humbug of kings. 'Tis I take their measure, ninth part of a man. Lightly he sheds it off, mused then the priest a man for Daniel's den. In by place now they join the twain, Belix and Og and Red Fez bald, and Derwent in his easy vein. Ear gives to chat with wine and gladness, pleased to elude the Siddim madness. And yes, even that in grottos scrawled, nor grieving that each pilgrim friend, nor time now leave him to unbend, yet intervening even there, a touch he knew of gliding care. We loiterers whom life can please, thought he, could we but find our mates. Ever but no before the gates of joy lie some who carp and tease collisions of men's destinies. But quick to nullify that tone, he turned to mark the jovial one, telling the twain the martial pair of Cairo and his tarry there, and how his humorous soul to please, he visited the dervishes, the dancing ones. But what think ye? The captain dervish vowed to me that those same cheeses, whirl round rings he made were David's, yes, the king's, who danced before the ark. But look, this was the step King David took, and cut fantastic pigeon wings. Canto 28, Mortmain and the Palm. See him how all your threat he braves. Saba, your ominous architraves. Impending, stir him not a jot. Scarce he would change with me and lot. Wiser am I, curse on the store of knowledge. Nay, 'twas cursed of yore. Knowledge is power, tell that to knaves. 'Tis knavish knowledge, the true lore. Is impotent for earth, thyself thou canst not save. Come down from cross. They cast it in his teeth. Trim Pelf stood by and jeered. Is gold then dross? Cling to his tree and there find hope. Me it but makes a misanthrope. Makes, nay, but 'twould, did not the hate dissolve in pity of the fate. This legend, dream, and fact of life, the drooping hands and dancing feet, which in the endless series meet, and rumors of no god so rife. The Swede, the brotherless, who else? 'Twas he upon the brink opposed, to whom the lesbian was disclosed. An antic, hence those syllables. Ere long, at distance from that scene, a voice dropped on him from a screen. Above, ho halt, it chanced to be the challenged here. No start incurred, forewarned of near vicinity. Of Searle and his freak he heard, looked up and answered, well, the world, hope in derision, stand delay, that was password for yesterday. Despair, advance. He going scanned the testimony of the hand, gnawed in the dream, yea, but to hear. Despair, nay, death, and what's death's cheer? Death means the sea beat gains the shore. He's home, his watch is called no more. So looks it, not I tax thee, death, with that which might make strength a trembler, while yet for me it scants no breath. That quiet under sleepiest mound, thou art a dangerous dissembler, that he whose evil is profound and multiform of life's disguises, whom none dare check and naught chastises, and in his license thinks no bound. For him thou hoardest strange surprises, but what, the tree, O holy palm? If 'tis a world where hearts wax warm, oftener through hate than love, and chief, the bland thing be the adder's charm, and the true thing virtue's ancient grief. Thee yet it nourishes, even thee, envoy whose looks the pang assuage, disclose thy heavenly embassage, that lily rod which Gabriel bore, to Mary kneeling her before, announcing a God, the mother she, that budded a stalk from paradise, like that thou shinest in thy device, and swayest thou over here toward me can such a symbol sway, and round turn of craggy way across the interposed abyss, he had encountered it, submiss. He dropped upon the understone, and soon in such a dream was thrown. He felt as floated up in cheer of saint born heavenward from the bier. Indeed, each wakeful night and fast that feeds and keeps that clay wood clutch, with thrills which he did still outlast, his fibers made so fine an end that though in trials fate can lend, firm to withstand, strong to contend, sensitive he to a spirit's touch. A wind awakened him, a breath, he lay like light upon the heath, alive though still, and all came back, the years outlived with all their black, while all bright he saw the angel tree across the gulf alluring sway, come over, be forever, be as in the trance, wilt not delay, yet hear me in appeal to thee. When the last light shall fade from me, if groping round no hand I meet, thee I'll recall, invoke thee, palm. Comfort me then, thou paraclete, the lull late mind beneath thy lee, then renew and seal the calm. Under the ledge of hanging stair, and under vine invisible there, with eyes still feeding on the tree, relapsed he lingered as in lace snare. Canto 29, Rolf and the Palm. Pursued the mounted robber flies, unawed through Kedron's plunged Desmini. The clink and clinking echo dies, he vanished along ravine. And stealthily, there in little chinks, betwixt or under slab rocks slinks, the dwindled amber current lean. Far down see Rolf there, hidden low, by ledge slant, small does he show, if eagle's eye, small and far off, as mother carries bird in den, of Cape Horn's hollowing, billowing trough, when from the rail where lash they bide, the sweep of over curling tide, down in bonds the seamen gaze upon the flutterer and glen of waters where it sheltered plays, while over it each briny height is torn with bubbling torrents white, and slant foam tumbling from the snow upon the crest, and far as eye can range through mist and scud which fly, peak behind peak the liquid summits grow. By chance Rolf won the rocky stair, at base and queried if it were man's work or nature's, or the twain had wrought together in that lane of high ascent, so crooked with turns, and flanked by coignes that one discerns, but links thereof in flights encaved, whatever the point of view. Up, slow, he climbed for little space, then craved a respite, turned and sat, and lo, the tree in salutation wave. Across the chasm remindings swell, sweet troubles of emotion mount, sylvan reveries, and they well from memory's bandugia fount, yet scarce the memory alone, but that in question merged in one, whom weave ye in, ye vines, ye palms, whom now Suli lives, yet your Indian Arcady, his sunburnt face what Saxon shows, his limbs all white as lilies be, where Eden isled empurpled glows in old Mendana's sea. Takes who the venture after me, who now adown the mountain dell, till mine by human foot untrod, nor easy like the steps to hell. In panic leaps the appalling crag, alighting on the cloistral sod, where strange Hesperian orchards drag. Walled round by cliff and cascatel, arcades of iris, and though lorn, a truant shipboy overworn, is hailed for a descended god, who sips the vernal cocoa's cream, the nereids dimpling in the darkling stream, for whom the gambol of the tricksy dream, even Puck's substantiated scene, yea, much as man might hope, and more than heaven may mean, and whom do priests and people sue, in terms which pathos yet shall tone, when memory comes unto her own, to dwell with them and ever find them true. Abide, for peace is here. Behold, nor heat nor cold we fear, nor any dearth, one happy tide, a dance, a garland of the year. Abide, but whoso feels the stars annoy, upbraiding him, how far astray, that he abjures the simple joy, and hurries over the briny world away. Renouncer, is it Adam's flight without compulsion or the sin? And shall the veil avenge the slight by haunting thee in hours thou yet shall win? He tarried, and each swaying fan sighed to his mood in thronodities of Pan. Canto 30, The Celibate. All distant through that afternoon, the student kept nor might attune his heart to any steadfast thought, but Ruth, still Ruth, yet strange involved, with every mystery unresolved, in time and fate in cloudless caught, her image labored like a star, fitful revealed in midnight heaven, when inland from the sea-coast far, the storm-rack and dark scud are driven, words scarce might tell his frame in sooth. 'Twas Ruth, and oh, much more than Ruth, that flank of Kedron still he held, which is built up and passing on, while now sweet peal of chiming swelled from belfry old withdrawn in zone, away through cloisters deep he won, and winding vaults that sloped to height, and heard a voice espied a light, and twinkle through far passage dim, and aim for it a friendly gleam, and so came out upon the tree, mid-poised and ledge-built balcony, in-railed and one who leaning over, beneath the palm from shore to shore, of Kedron's overwhelming walls, and up and down her gap and grave, a golden cry sent such as calls to creatures which the summons know, and launching from crag tower and cave, beatified in flight they go, Saint Saba's doves in Saba bred, for wonted bounty they repair, these convent pensioners of air, fly to their friend from hand outspread, or fluttering at his feet are fed, some iridescent round his brow, wheel and with nimbus him endow. Not fortune's darling here was seen, but heaven's elect, the robe of blue, so sorted with the doves in hue, prevailing in clear skies serene, without a cloud, so pure he showed. Of stature tall and aspect bright, he looked an almoner of God, dispenser of the bread of light. 'Twas not the intellectual heir, not solely that, though that be fair, another order and more rare, as high above the Plato mind, as this above the Mammon kind, in beauty of his port unsealed, to Clarel part he stood revealed, at first encounter, but the sweet, small pecking bills and hopping feet, had previous won the host urbane, in courtesy that could not feign. Mute welcome yielding Anne a seat, it charmed away half Clarel's care, and charmed the picture that he saw, to think how like that turtle pair, which Mary, to fulfill the law, from Bethlehem to temple brought, for offering these Saba doves, seemed natives not of Venus's court, voluptuous with wanton wreath, but colonnades where Enoch roves, or walks with God, as Scripture saith, nor myrtle here, but sold palm, whose vernal fans take rich release from crowns of footstalks golden warm. O martyr's scepter, type of peace, and trouble glorified to calm. What stillness in the almoner's face, nor formal halt, more mild may reign. Mellow above the purple mane of autumn hills, it was a grace beyond medallions yet recall. The student murmured filial, Father, and tremulously gleamed, Here sure is peace. The Father beamed. The nature of the peace was such, it shunned to venture any touch of word, and yet went Clarel on, but faltered there, the saint but glanced, Father, if good, 'tis unenhanced. No life domestic do ye own within these walls, woman I miss. Like cranes, what years from time's abyss their flight have taken one by one, since Saba founded this retreat, and cells hear many a stifled moan of lonely generations gone, and more shall pine as more shall fleet. With dove on wrist he robed stood hushed, mused on the bird and softly brushed. Scarce reassured by air so mute, anxiously Clarel urged his suit. The celibate let go the dove, cooing it won the shoulder, lit even at his ear as whispering it, but he once pace made in remove, and from a little alcove took a silver clasped and vellum book, and turned a leaf and gave that page for answer rhyme, old hermit rhyme, composed in Decius's cruel age by Christian of Theban clime. 'Twas David's son, and he of Dan, with him misloved that fled the bride, and Job, whose wife but mocked his ban, then rose, or in redemption ran. The rib restored to Adam's side, and man made whole as man began, and lustral hymns and prayers were here, renouncings, yearnings, charges dread, against our human nature, dear. Worship and wail, which if misled, not less might fervor, high and still, in hearts which striving in their fear of clay to bridle, curb or kill. In the pure desert of the will, chastise live the vowed life austere. The given page the student scanned, started, reviewed, nor might withstand. He turned, the celibate was gone, over the gulf he hung alone, alone but for the comment caught, or dreamed in face seen far below. Upturned toward the palm in thought, or else on him he scarce might know. Fixed seemed it in assent indeed, which indexed all, it was the Swede. Over the Swede, upon the stair, long Bethel stair of ledges brown, sloping as from the heaven let down, apart lay vine lowermost there, Rolf he discerned nor less the three, while of each other unaware, in one consent of frame might be, how vaguely, while yet influenced so, by late encounter, and his glance rested on vine his reveries flow, recalling that repulsed advance. He knew by Jordan in the wood, and the enigma unsubdued, possessing Ruth nor less his heart, I hungering still and deeper part, unsatisfied, can be a bond, thought he as David sings in strain, that dirges beauteous Jonathan, passing the love of woman fond, and may experience but dull the longing for it. Can time teach? Shall all these billows win the lull? And shallow on life's hardened beach, he lingered, the last dove had fled, and nothing breathed, waved, or fed. Along the uppermost sublime blank ridge he wandered as in sleep. A saffron sun's last rays were shed. More still, more solemn waxed the time, till apathy upon the steep sat one with silence and the dead. Canto 31, The Recoil. But who was she, if Luke attest, whom generations hail for blessed? Immaculate, though human one. What diademed and starry nun, bearing in English old the name and hallowed style of Holidame. She, the mater of the rood, sprang she from Ruth's young sisterhood, on cliff and moonlight roaming out. So Clarel, thrilled by deep descent, revulsion from injected doubt, and many a strange presentiment, but came ere long profound relapse. The rhyme recurred, made voids or gaps. In dear relations, while anew, from chambers of his mind review, emerged the saint who with the palm shared heaven on earth in gracious calm, even as his robe partook the hue, and needs from that high mentor part. Is strength too strong to teach the weak? Though tame, the life seem turn the cheek? Does the call elect the hero heart? The thunder smites our tropic bloom. If live the abodes unvexed and balmy, no equinox with annual doom. If Eden's wafted from the plume of shining Raphael, Michael Palmley. If these and more than fable be, with natures variously divine, through all their ranks they are masculine. Else how the power with purity, or in yon worlds of flight is known, the clear intelligence alone, express the founder's words declare. Marrying none is in the heaven, yet love in heaven itself to spare. Love feminine, can Eve be riven from sex and disengaged retain its charm? Think this, then may ye feign, the perfumed rose shall keep its bloom, cut off from sustenance of loam. But if Eve's charm be not supernal, enduring, not divine transplanting, love kindled thence is that eternal? Here is the hollow, here the haunting. Ah, love, ah, wherefore thus unsure? Linked art thou, locked with self impure. Yearnings benign the angels know, St. Francis and St. John have felt. Goodwill, desires that overflow, and reaching far as life is dealt. That other love, O heavy load, is not then trustworthy but God? On more hereof, derived in frame, from the Eremites, Theban flame, mused Clarel, taking self to task, nor might determined thought reclaim, but the waste invoking this did ask, truth, cherubic, claimest thou worth, foreign to time and hearts which dwell, helots of habit old as earth, suspended twixt the heaven and hell. But turn thee, rest the burden there, Tomorrow new deserts must thou share. Canto 32, Empty Stirrups. The gray of dawn, a tremor slight, the trouble of imperfect light. Anew begins in floating cloud, midway suspended down the gorge. A long mist trails white shreds of shroud. How languorous, toward the Dead Sea's verge. Riders in seat halt by the gate. Why not set forth for one they wait? Whose stirrup empty be, the Swede, still absent from the freighter hall, since afternoon and vesper call. He, they imagined, had but sought some cave in keeping with his thought, and reappear would with the light suddenly as the Gileadite in Obadiah's way. But no, he cometh not when they would go, dismounting, they make search in vain, till Clarel, minding him again of something settled in his air, a quietude beyond mere calm, while seen from ledge beside the palm, reclined in nook of Bethel stair, thitherward led them in a thrill of nervous apprehension till startled he stops, with eyes avert, and indicating hand, 'tis he. So undisturbed, supine, inert, the filmed orbs fixed upon the tree. Night's dews upon his eyelids be, to test if breath remain none tries, on those thin lips a feather lies, an eagle's, wafted from the skies, the vow, and had the genius heard, benignant, nor had made a delay, but more than taking him at word, quick waft where the palm boughs sway. In St. John's heaven, some divined, that long had he been undermined, and framed the brain a tocsin bell, overburdensome for citadel, whose base was shattered, they refrain from aught but that dumb look that fell, identifying feeling pain, that such a heart could beat and will, aspire, yearn, suffer, baffled still, and end with monks which round them stood, concerned not discomposed in mood, interment they provided for, heaved a last sigh, nor tarried more, nay one a little lingered there, 'twas Rolf, and as the rising sun, though viewless yet from Bethel stair, more lit the mountains he was one, to invocation scarce to prayer. Holy morning, what blessed lore reservest thou, withheld from man that evermore, without surprise, but rather with a hurtless scorning, in thy placid eyes, thou viewest all events alike. O tell me, do thy bright beams strike the healing hills of Gilead now, and glance toward the pale one near, in shadow of the crag's dark brow, did charity follow that poor bier? It did, but bigotry did steer. Friars buried him without the walls, nor in a consecrated bed, where vulture unto vulture calls, and only ill things find a friend. There let the beak and claw contend, there the hyena's cub be fed. Heaven that disclaims and him beweeps, in annual showers, and the tried spirit sleeps.